Chapter 58:47. It had to be said that beating people up like this was quite refreshing. After beating them up, it was simply refreshing. The two pig heads on the ground groaned and did not dare to stand up. However, although they looked miserable, in fact, they did not suffer any serious injuries. Basically, they only had some superficial wounds. Lin Yi did not want to kill them here, nor did he intend to cripple them like this. After all, he had just signed a truce agreement with the center. Although Su Lingchong and the others took the initiative to find trouble, in the end, they had already admitted defeat. If Lin Yi wanted to kill them again, it would be somewhat unreasonable. All right, you two can scram now. Be careful in the future, don't fall into my hands. Also, if you dare to touch my brothers again, there will not be a next time. You understand? If you remember, then scram. Lin Yi kicked the two fellows, indicating that they did not need to pretend to be dead, and quickly get up and scram. Su Lingchong and Meng Tong did not dare to be negligent. Right now, they only wanted to get far away from this terrifying guy, Lin Yi. Immediately, without saying anything, they suppressed their grievances in their hearts and quickly ran away. When the disciples of the Blue Cloud Pavilion saw this scene, they all felt relieved in their hearts. Suddenly, they burst into cheers, treating Lin Yi and the others as heroes. As for that big senior brother, whose cultivation had been crippled, who would still remember such a pile of mud, Lin Yi also expressed his gratitude to these fellow disciples who were very supportive, and then brought them to the place where he used to live. Although Lin Yi did not introduce Xiao Ran and Wei Xinjin to both sides, they communicated very well without any obstacles. They were all Lin Yi's underlings, so there was nothing to hide. Moreover, Wei Xinjin and Shang Yuhua had just fallen in love. They were very enthusiastic about Xiao Ran's pursuit of Soaring Sky Pavilion's junior sister. They even gave him advice, completely forgetting that he had to rely on Lin Yi to bring him to meet Shang Yuhua 2 days ago. Although Lu Bianren was also smiling, there was still some worry between his eyebrows. Lin Yi did not pay attention to those guys' love gossip behind him, but asked Lu Bianren, "Senior brother Lu, you seem a little unhappy." "It's not that I'm unhappy, I'm just a little worried." Lu Bianren shook his head, looked around, and lowered his voice. "Originally, I wanted to tell junior brother Lin after we return, but since you asked now, I should remind you first." "Senior brother Lu, please go ahead." Lin Yi did not seem to care. He guessed that Lu Bianren would probably say that senior brother Wang had a powerful backer, or something like that, but so what? If it wasn't for Lin Yi's return, he, the second senior brother in charge, might have become someone's assistant at some point. It's really the work of that idiot Kong Ming. No wonder Blue Cloud Pavilion would have this secular position of assistant. Lin Yi snorted and asked again, "Senior brother Lu, is our Blue Cloud Pavilion now so lacking in talent? Such a guy who looks like an uncle finally rose to the early stage of profound ascension, and he's the hope of Blue Cloud Pavilion? Then the hope of Blue Cloud Pavilion is really slim." Lu Bianren suddenly coughed a few times. He thought that the guy surnamed Wang did look a bit like an uncle, but Lu Bianren, did not look like a young man. He was not even as good as that guy surnamed Wang. How should he put it? But thinking about how young Lin Yi was, he was already at the peak of the late stage of profound ascension. Compared to this kind of abnormal level guy, the guy surnamed Wang who barely advanced to the profound ascension stage at such an old age really couldn't be considered as a star of hope. Then Lu Bianren thought of himself, and he was about to burst into tears. Being with such a monster, his self-confidence would really suffer an inexplicable blow at any time. When Lin Yi heard Lu Bianren's dry cough, he realized that his words seemed to have hit too many people. He quickly changed the topic. "What level is senior brother Lu's strength now?" Chapter 58:48. Lu Bianren continued to cry. But he also knew that Linny didn't mean it, so he smiled and said, "Now, I'm at the peak of the nascent soul stage, but it's a pity that I can't advance to the profound ascension stage in the North Island." To be honest, with Lu Bienren's qualifications, it was already very fast to cultivate to the current level. If he wasn't compared with a monster like Lin Yi, Lu Bienren could also be regarded as a small genius. At my position, I also know some secrets. If I want to advance to the profound ascension stage, I have to go to the East Continent. Junior brother Lin, you have been there, right? Haha, this question is useless. If you haven't been there, how can you advance to the current level? Lu Bienren smiled and shook his head, but there was still some envy in his tone. Speaking of which, the man surnamed Wang came back from the East Continent after you left. It took him several years to advance to the early stage of the profound ascension stage, so you don't know him. If I have the chance to go to the East Continent, I will definitely seize the opportunity. Lu Bienren said with some longing, obviously looking forward to the profound ascension stage. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Who said that if you want to advance to the profound ascension stage, you have to go to the East Continent? Senior brother Lu, don't worry. Even in the North Island, you can also become a master of the profound ascension stage." Lu Bienren was stunned. Really? How come I never knew there was such a thing? Let's go back first. Lin Yi saw that they were about to reach home, so he didn't want to continue to talk in detail. Originally, he wanted to come back and take a look, and then go to the Soaring Sky Pavilion to find Shangguan Lan'er, but now it seemed that he had to delay it a little and help Lu Bienren to advance to the profound ascension stage first. Anyway, Lin Yi's divine sense had already found Shangguan Lan'er, and it seemed that she didn't have anything important to come back in a hurry. It wouldn't be too late to find her after he was done here. The place where Lin Yi lived naturally had a place to practice, and it was protected by restrictions. Originally, if he wanted to advance to the profound ascension stage, it would be better to go to an open place in the wild, because Lin Yi could attract natural thunder and lightning, but it was too conspicuous in the North Island, so it was better to make do in a place with restrictions. Anyway, Lin Yi's self-made thunder tribulation was not weak. It was enough for him to advance. Letting Xiao Ran and Qiao Honkai greet Wei Shinjin and Shang Yuhua, Lin Yi took Lu Bienren directly to the place to practice. It was not that he didn't trust the four people, so he didn't let them watch, but he was worried that they would disturb Lu Bienren when he was going through the tribulation, so he simply let the four of them do their own thing. Anyway, there was no experience to learn from the tribulation that Lin Yi made. "Brother Lu, eat this pill. I'll help you advance to the profound ascension stage." Lin Yi took out a Thunder Xian pill and handed it to Lu Bienren and said calmly to him. Lu Bienren was not a person who didn't know what was good, and at this stage he was looking for a Thunder Xian pill to advance. So, of course, he would study more about these things. Thunder Xian pill. Brother Lin, you actually have a Thunder Xian pill, and it's even a special grade pill. Lu Bienren couldn't help but exclaim again and again, although the Thunder Xian pill was the most precious thing to him. Because it was too precious, he was a little embarrassed to accept it. Lin Yi waved his hand indifferently and said, "I refined this myself. The extra Thunder Xian pill is useless to me. Brother Lu, hurry up and eat it." Lu Bienren was stunned. He knew that Lin Yi could refine pills, but he didn't know that Lin Yi's Tao of Alchemy was so powerful that he could even refine a Thunder Xian pill of the highest quality. Although he didn't know how Lin Yi was going to help him, since he wanted him to eat the Thunder Xian pill, he didn't ask much and directly swallowed it. Then the Thunder Tribulation began, using the created Thunder Tribulation to help people advance to the profound ascension stage. Lin Yi could be said to be a piece of cake. Lu Bienren's advancement was naturally daunting, but not dangerous, and very smoothly broke through. At this time, The higher-ups of the Blue Cloud Pavilion were already in an uproar. The sudden fall of a star of hope in the early stage of the profound ascension stage was definitely a big event that could cause a strong earthquake in the Blue Cloud Pavilion. Therefore, the higher-ups of the Blue Cloud Pavilion, led by the pavilion master Yu Xinyang, gathered in a very short period of time. Even those who were in seclusion were called out one by one. In fact, the elders of the Blue Cloud Pavilion couldn't make any decisions. Attending this kind of meeting was just to make up the numbers. The real important person in the Blue Cloud Pavilion was the pavilion master Yu Xinyang and the two deputy pavilion masters, Yao Luanzhen and Zhang Ziqiang. But Yao Luanzhen was still missing, so Zhang Ziqiang could almost compete with Yu Xinyang. The inner sect steward surnamed Wang, who was killed by Lin Yi, was the nephew of the deputy pavilion master Zhang Ziqiang. After receiving the news, he immediately found Yu Xinyang and requested to hold this meeting. It's not that Zhang Ziqiang didn't want to directly find Lin Yi for revenge. The problem was that Lin Yi's strength had already spread the peak of the profound ascension late stage, and in the Blue Cloud Pavilion, Lin Yi had always appeared with a tough attitude of challenging those of a higher level. Zhang Ziqiang himself didn't have the slightest confidence to deal with Lin Yi, so he could only use this method. Pavilion Master Lin Yi, this little disciple, actually dared to kill the inner sect steward in front of our Blue Cloud Pavilion. This is simply looking down on our Blue Cloud Pavilion. This time, no matter what, we can't let this kind of person go. Otherwise, among the 3 pavilions in the North Island, our Blue Cloud Pavilion will never be able to raise our heads again. If the pavilion master feels that it's difficult, or you can directly let the people of the law enforcement hall deal with this matter. Zhang Ziqiang said loudly with a face full of righteous indignation, but no one present was a fool. They all knew what he was doing. Although Jia Mufan was a senior errand boy, the pavilion master's assistant was still qualified to appear on this occasion. When he heard Zhang Ziqiang's words, he immediately cupped his fists to Yu Xinyang and said, "Pavilion master, there's a reason for this matter. We can't easily come to a conclusion. I still know Lin Yi, he's not an unreasonable person." So, Zhang Ziqiang interrupted with a sneer, "Assistant Jia, according to what you said, Lin Yi is not an unreasonable person who can kill our inner sect steward in Blue Cloud Pavilion at will. So if he is unreasonable, can't he just come here and kill all of us? Assistant Jia, whether it is as a person or as a person, we must maintain fairness. You can't be partial to the murderer just because Lin Yi has a good personal relationship with you." Jia Mufan suddenly became angry. This damn bastard is obviously the most selfish one, but he actually has the cheek to talk about fairness in such a sincere and heartfelt manner. This is simply shameless. However, with his identity, he really couldn't say anything on this occasion. Just now, when he spoke out of desperation, he was already considered to have crossed the line. Chapter 58-49. A genius in a second, remember, to go. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Originally, Jia Mufan's position as the steward's big brother had been replaced, and he'd become the pavilion master's assistant. Yu Xinyang felt a bit guilty, and naturally he had to support him now. Zhang Ziqiang immediately cupped his fists and said, "Of course not, pavilion master. Our Blue Cloud Pavilion can develop to this point all because of pavilion master's good leadership. I believe that no matter what happens, pavilion master will maintain a fair and just judgment." Yu Xinyang's face was a little ugly. Although Zhang Ziqiang was praising him, Blue Cloud Pavilion was the weakest of the 3 pavilions on the North Island. If he said that it was all because of his good leadership, didn't it mean that Yu Xinyang had no contribution to Blue Cloud Pavilion at all? However, Yu Xinyang, as the pavilion master of Blue Cloud Pavilion, certainly could not care about some verbal problems at this time. He still said to Zhang Ziqiang indifferently, "We still haven't come to a conclusion about the ins and outs of this matter. Let's find a few disciples at the scene and ask them first. If it were someone else, even if Yu Xinjiang didn't order the enforcement hall to take action, he would still capture the person and bring him back before doing anything else. But Lin Yi was different. Putting aside his personal importance to clear Cloud Pavilion, just Shangguan Tianhua's face was something Yu Xinjiang had to consider. Who on the northern island didn't know that Lin Yi was a junior that even Shangguan Tianhua valued? Zhang Ziqiang said with slight anger, "Pavilion Master, do you not believe my words? I have investigated this matter clearly. Lin Yi was arrogant and domineering. He killed our Blue Cloud Pavilion's inner core steward in front of so many disciples and shopkeeper Su of the Central Chamber of Commerce. What else is there to ask? He should have killed him directly." Anger gradually rose in Yu Xinjiang's heart. Even if this Zhang Ziqiang's strength was not weaker than his, it shouldn't be enough to overwhelm him. But now, this Zhang Ziqiang dared to be so overbearing, not putting him, the Clear Cloud Pavilion's pavilion lord, in his eyes. Did he really think that he, Yu Xinjiang, was made of clay? Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang, do you have the final say in Blue Cloud Pavilion now? Yu Xinjiang said coldly, emphasizing the word deputy. Zhang Ziqiang's eyes narrowed into slits. Then he laughed lightly and said, "Of course not. Everything in the Clear Cloud Pavilion is naturally decided by Pavilion Lord Yu. It's just that our Clear Cloud Pavilion's inner court steward, eldest senior brother, was killed by someone. Moreover, he was an early-stage profound ascension master, the hope of the Clear Cloud Pavilion. If Pavilion Lord Yu did not have any reaction, it would really disappoint the hearts of the disciples." As soon as these words came out, the elders who supported Zhang Ziqiang immediately chimed in. If Yu Xinjiang didn't handle this well, they would probably force him to abdicate. The corners of Yu Xinjiang's mouth curled into a faint sneer. His eyes slowly swept across the faces of the elders, causing them to lower their voices one by one. In the end, they all turned their heads away, not daring to make eye contact with him. Zhang Ziqiang's heart trembled slightly. He knew that Yu Xinjiang, as the pavilion master, had accumulated a lot of power. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to shake his position for a while. As for the matter of Lin Yi's murder, since Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang said that there is no need to investigate it, then there is no need to investigate it. However, this matter happened outside the gate of Blue Cloud Pavilion. Strictly speaking, it is no longer within the scope of our Blue Cloud Pavilion. In addition, both sides are disciples of Blue Cloud Pavilion, so it can only be regarded as their personal grievances. Although there is some suspicion of violating the sect's rules, it is not good for us to interfere too much. Yu Xinjiang said slowly. His words had already made it clear that he wanted to absolve Lin Yi. Of course, Zhang Ziqiang couldn't agree just like that, and immediately objected. "Pavilion Master Yu, isn't it a bit wrong to say that? The gate of Blue Cloud Pavilion, how is it not within the scope of Blue Cloud Pavilion? Even if you say that it is not their fault for fighting in the sect, but it is a fact that Lin Yi killed a profound ascending stage master, even if it was somewhere else. Don't tell me that a profound ascending stage disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion was killed. Can't we take revenge? If that's the case, Blue Cloud Pavilion should close down as soon as possible." Yu Xinjiang looked at Zhang Ziqiang and suddenly smiled. "Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang, Lin Yi killed a profound ascending stage master, but he is also a disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion. Tell me, after Blue Cloud Pavilion lost a master who took 40 years to reach the profound ascending stage, do they still want to kill a genius who is already at the peak of profound ascending stage late stage at the age of 20? The audience was silent. Zhang Ziqiang was also stunned. Of course, he knew that Lin Yi was also a disciple of Blue Cloud Pavilion, And he also knew that Lin Yi was a master at the peak of profound ascending stage, late stage. But he had never thought about how important such a person was to Blue Cloud Pavilion. If a person who took 40 years to ascend from nascent soul great perfection to profound ascending stage, early stage, was the hope of Blue Cloud Pavilion, then what about a freak like Lin Yi? He would be the key figure in the rise of Blue Cloud Pavilion, right? Pavilion Master Yu is right. Lin Yi is a rare genius. How can he be killed just like that? He's just a mystic ascension early stage master. It doesn't matter if he's killed, that kind of trash can't even compare to one of Lin Yi's fingers. One of the elders who supported Yu, Xinyang, immediately voiced his support. They didn't have much help in deciding things, but they did the work of waving the flag and shouting the battle cry very smoothly. Zhang Zichang was not willing to fail like this. He still stubbornly said, "I don't deny that Lin Yi is a real genius, but he will not stay in Blue Cloud Pavilion at all. You see, he has been wandering around in the past few years. Not only did he go to West Island to play, but also opened a Dan Pavilion in Middle Island. Pavilion Master Yu, do you think he will always stay in North Island?" This time Yu Xinyang didn't speak, because what Zhang Zichang said was the truth. Not only that, Lin Yi was also a person valued by Shanghai Tianhua. Who knew if he would go to Chongtian Pavilion in the end, if he refuted Zhang Zichang now? And Lin Yi left Blue Cloud Pavilion in the end, then his prestige as a pavilion master would suffer a fatal blow. Jia Mufan couldn't help but interject. Junior brother Lin is a person who knows the big picture. As long as we make it clear to him, I believe he will definitely stay in Blue Cloud Pavilion. With junior brother Lin's strength, 1-for-1, Blue Cloud Pavilion will not suffer a loss. Although it was a bit too cruel to use a person's life to say 1-for-1, Jia Mufan didn't have a good impression of the guy who took his position as the inner disciple steward. If Lin Yi could kill that guy, it was exactly what he wanted. Zhang Zichang roared, "Shut up! Is this a place where you can speak? Do you want to die by disturbing the normal proceedings of the meeting again and again?" Chapter 5850. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go, we provide you with wonderful novels to read. Originally, it was not suitable for Yu Xinyang to make remarks like Jia Mufan. But now, in order to support him, he could openly express his thoughts through Jia Mufan's mouth, which made him very satisfied. One of the elders who supported Yu Xinyang immediately followed up, "Pavilion Lord is right. As long as Pavilion Lord does not object, Assistant Jia can speak on behalf of Pavilion Lord. Moreover, I also feel that what he said is very true. With Lin Yi's peerless talent, perhaps in a few years, he could become the cornerstone of our Clear Cloud Pavilion. Even surpassing the Profound Pavilion is not impossible. As for the dead junior brother Wang, although his talent is not bad, in the future, he will at most become an elder." Zhang Zichang's face was extremely gloomy, but he had nothing to say because these were all facts. His dead nephew was just a pile of shit compared to Lin Yi. If he had to choose one of them to be his teammate, even he felt that he would choose Lin Yi, right? Yu Xinyang glanced at Zhang Zichang and said, "This matter is settled. Jia Mufan, go and inform Lin Yi of the decision made at today's meeting. Let's see what he says." "Yes, Pavilion Master. I'll do it right now." Jia Mufan bowed respectfully, then turned around and left. As for Zhang Zichang, who had an ugly expression, he didn't even look at him. After a while, Jia Mufan arrived at Lin Yi's residence. Lu Bianren had just finished advancing to the mysterious ascension stage and was stabilizing his realm. So when Lin Yi noticed Jia Mufan's arrival, he immediately came out to see him. "Love, go, little say, Nekku, senior brother Jia. Long time no see." As soon as Lin Yi came out, he smiled and waved at Jia Mufan. Jia Mufan had always been very kind to him, so he was very polite. Jia Mufan didn't dare to neglect him. he hurriedly stepped forward and cupped his fists, saying, "Junior brother Lin, long time no see. I didn't expect you to be so powerful this time. I'm afraid there aren't many people on the North Island who can beat you." Of course, this was a compliment. There were indeed not many powerful people on the North Island, but there must be hidden powerhouses as trump cards. Therefore, Lin Yi just listened casually. "Senior brother Jia, you flatter me." Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand. After inviting Jia Mufan to sit down, he continued, "Does senior brother Jia have something to tell me this time?" Initially, Lin Yi wanted to ask Jia Mufan about the loss of the steward senior brother. However, it wasn't appropriate to rub salt in someone else's wound. Although Lin Yi had gotten rid of that guy surnamed Wang, he preferred Lu Bianren to be the steward senior brother. Jia Mufan didn't think too much about it. He nodded and said, "That's right. The higher-ups of the Blue Cloud Pavilion had a meeting just now. They were discussing how you killed senior brother Wang at the entrance of the Blue Cloud Pavilion. That's pretty fast. Why didn't anyone come to arrest me?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and said nonchalantly, "It was Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang Ziqiang who strongly requested to hold a meeting, so it was held immediately. Junior brother Lin, Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang, right? The person you killed was his nephew, so he's very concerned about it," Jia Mufan explained with a bitter smile. He didn't know if Lin Yi was fearless because he didn't know anything, or if he was just brave because he was skilled. Pavilion Master tried his best to mediate in the meeting to temporarily suppress your matter. However, Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang's power isn't inferior to Pavilion Master's. If there's no explanation, he won't let it go. Jia Mufan continued. He didn't mention that he'd spoken up for Yu Xinjiang's sake, only highlighting Yu Xinjiang's contribution. At the same time, he was wondering if Lin Yi would accept the suggestion. Regardless of whether he would accept it or not, he had to say it out loud. Jia Mufan stole a glance at Lin Yi before continuing. In the end, it was decided that junior brother Lin will replace Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang's nephew and become a disciple that the Blue Cloud Pavilion will focus on. Of course, you must promise not to leave the Blue Cloud Pavilion. In other words, you must be tied to the Blue Cloud Pavilion. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He had never thought of leaving the Blue Cloud Pavilion. Why was he talking about being tied to the Blue Cloud Pavilion? This made him feel a little unhappy. Jia Mufan had been observing Lin Yi's expression. When he saw that he was slightly unhappy, he immediately said, "Of course, if junior brother Lin doesn't want to be tied down too much, you can also go to Pavilion Master Shangwan to intercede. With his status, one word is enough to erase this matter." "Who wants to intercede with my grandfather?" "It'll be the same, if I go." As they were talking, Shanghai Laner came bouncing in. She heard that the fleet of the Middle Island had arrived at the North Island. She heard that Lin Yi was also on the ship, so she ran over alone. Lin Yi's divine sense had long discovered that Lan was coming. However, he had to accompany Jia Mufan, so he didn't go out to greet her. Now that he saw her, he just smiled and greeted her. "Lan, you're here. Why did you leave without saying goodbye last time?" Shanghai Laner wrinkled her nose and snorted. "I wanted to tell you, but you were so busy that I couldn't see you at all. What could I do? Also, as a junior brother, you didn't come to greet senior sister as soon as you returned to the North Island. Did you think you're powerful, so you've grown up?" Jia Mufan held his mouth and snickered. Chapter 58-51. Lin Yi just smiled faintly and didn't say much. He knew what Jia Mufan meant. Those below the profound ascension stage were not enough to attract the attention of the higher-ups of the Blue Cloud Pavilion. And before Lu Bianren went to the East Continent, he was only at the nascent soul great perfection stage. Even if it was just a step away, it was still a world of difference. It was a pity that Jia Mufan didn't know that Lu Bianren didn't go to the East Continent and had successfully advanced to the profound ascension stage. Otherwise, he would never say these words. Shang Guanlan looked inside curiously. She also knew Lu Bianren, but he looked so serious, which made her curious. Did Lu Bianren change in some way? Shang Guanlan was curious. Of course, Lu Bianren had changed. When he walked out, the aura emitted from his body made Jia Mufan stand up abruptly. He looked at him in disbelief and couldn't say a word. Hey, this is the aura of the early stage of the profound ascension stage. Senior brother Lu, you've advanced? Shanghai Laner wasn't too surprised and asked. Lu Bianren smiled and greeted Jia Mufan and Shanghai Laner, then said with a smile, Yes, thanks to junior brother Lin, I was able to break through to the early stage of the profound ascension stage. It's just that my strength has just stabilized, and I can't control my aura freely for a while. Jia Mufan took a deep breath, and the way he looked at Lin Yi was completely different. If it was just respect before, it was almost worship now. How long has it been since Lin Yi came back? He killed an early stage profound ascension stage and helped to advance to the early stage profound ascension stage. Who else in the North Island could be so amazing? At least Jia Mufan had never heard of anyone who could advance to the profound ascension stage without going to the East Continent. If someone didn't make friends with a person who could do such an incredible thing and instead wanted to offend him, then that person was either stupid or ready to die. Jia Mufan was very glad that he had a good eye. Since Lin Yi was weak, he had been good to him. Senior brother Jia, do you think there's any problem with senior brother Lu replacing that Wang guy? Lin Yi asked with a smile. In terms of strength, Lu Bianren was no longer inferior to the guy he killed. In terms of potential, with Lin Yi's support, he was more than 8 streets ahead of that unlucky guy. Therefore, he didn't think that those people from Blue Cloud Pavilion couldn't see the situation clearly. Jia Mufan also thought so. After hearing Lin Yi's question, he immediately nodded and said, I think there's no problem. Junior brother Lu's talent and strength are not bad. In the future, he will definitely become a pillar of our Blue Cloud Pavilion. I'll go back and report to the pavilion master and let him know this good news. As for tying Lin Yi to Blue Cloud Pavilion, Jia Mufan tactfully didn't mention it. With the potential that Lin Yi had shown, as long as he didn't take the initiative to leave Blue Cloud Pavilion, then Blue Cloud Pavilion would definitely be able to benefit from it. Moreover, there were so many people that Lin Yi cared about in Blue Cloud Pavilion. If they nurtured them well, it was equivalent to roping in Lin Yi. After all, Jia Mufan was a senior brother who used to be a steward. He was very clear about this. The few of them chatted for a while. Then Jia Mufan hurriedly left. He had to inform Yu Xinyang as soon as possible to prevent Zhang Ziqiang from making trouble again. If they offended Lin Yi, then Blue Cloud Pavilion's loss would be immeasurable. The anxious Jia Mufan used his fastest speed and quickly returned to the conference hall. Yu Xinyang, Zhang Ziqiang, and the elders were still there. They were waiting for his report. Pavilion Master, this subordinate has already met Lin. After Jia Mufan ran in, he hurriedly cupped his fists and saluted Xinyang. After slightly calming down, he said, This subordinate has already told Lin Yi about the decision made at the meeting. Zhang Ziqiang sneered. Is he very grateful to you, an old friend, for secretly helping him find a chance to live? Jia Mufan replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang has a rich imagination. Unfortunately, you didn't guess correctly. Junior brother Lin didn't express any opinion on our proposal. Instead, he recommended us a suitable replacement. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Does he think that Blue Cloud Pavilion is a place to play house? that everything can be done according to his whims. Pavilion Master Yu, do you have anything to say now? It's obvious that he doesn't want to stay in Clear Cloud Pavilion anymore. Otherwise, why would he reject our offer of an olive branch and instead recommend a random person to join us? Zhang Ziqiang was overjoyed, thinking that He was really seeking death. Now, he had to prove that He was disrespectful to Blue Cloud Pavilion. Then, he would take his time to deal with him. Yu Xinyang glanced at Zhang Ziqiang and said, "Deputy Pavilion Master Zhang, I want to hear Assistant Jiao out. Can you be quiet for a while?" Zhang Ziqiang was stunned. He glared at Yu Xinyang and finally shut his mouth for the time being. Jia Mufan was quite pleased inwardly. It was all thanks to Zhang Ziqiang that he'd become Lin Yi's assistant. Zhang Ziqiang was the one who'd gotten him into trouble the moment Lin Yi came back. Reporting to Pavilion Master, Junior Brother Lin recommended Junior Brother Lu Bianren, the second senior brother in charge of Blue Cloud Pavilion. I originally said that Junior Brother Lu wasn't qualified to replace him. However, what surprised me was that Junior Brother Lu has already broken through to the early stage of profound ascension with Junior Brother Lin's help. Jia Mufan purposely emphasized the last part of his sentence. As expected, his words immediately caused a commotion. Even Yu Xinyang couldn't help but sit up straight. He asked in shock, "Jia Mufan, you said that Lu Bianren is already in the early stage of profound ascension? He successfully broke through without going to East Continent?" That's right. I saw it with my own eyes." Jia Mufan puffed out his chest with a proud expression and said in an extremely confident tone, and Junior Brother Lu personally admitted that he broke through because of Junior Brother Lin's help. Yu Xinyang also knew that before Yi returned, Lu Bianren had never broken through. However, he broke through as soon as Yi returned. It was impossible to believe that there was no relationship between the two. Good, as expected of someone that Pavilion Master Shangguan values. He is indeed extraordinary. Yu Xinyang muttered to himself in a low voice. Then he said with a smile, "He gave us a surprise as soon as he came back. Although I don't know how he helped someone advance to profound ascension without going to East Continent, this incredible method is enough for us to understand what we should do next." Chapter 58-52. Not only Yu Xinyang's faction, but even the elders in Zhang Ziqiang's faction could not raise any objections under such circumstances. In the cultivation world, strength was respected. Yi was strong, had great potential, and could even build a powerful force on his own. Offending such a person was really not worth it. Therefore, they hoped that Zhang Ziqiang would stop before it was too late and stop thinking about taking revenge on Yi. Zhang Ziqiang's face was as gloomy as water. No matter how unhappy he was, he could not raise any objections under such circumstances. It would only cause him to be isolated, and all his efforts over the years would be ruined in one day. However, it was absolutely impossible for him to give up on dealing with Yi. Since he could not do anything to Yi openly, Zhang Ziqiang began to plot how to kill Yi in the dark. If Yi knew about this, he would definitely have a look of indifference. Anyway, there were many people secretly plotting to kill him. Who would care about Zhang Ziqiang? While the Blue Cloud Pavilion was bustling, the Chamber of Commerce at the Central was quiet. After Su Lingchong returned, he immediately contacted the mysterious man in black and told him about Lin Yi's return as well as what happened at the entrance of the Blue Cloud Pavilion. Originally, he was hoping that the mysterious man in black could come up with some way to deal with Yi, who knew that the reply he received was a scolding from the mysterious man in black. "Su Lingchong, I'm warning you, behave. Our Central and Yi have just signed a 1-year truce agreement. This is not a joke. In this year, we have an extremely important plan that needs to be carried out. If you provoke Linny without permission and cause the truce agreement to be broken, I will definitely cut you into pieces, skin you, and burn you with oil. Remember, don't provoke Lin-y. If you do, you better pray that Linny kills you. If you implicate the Central, I will destroy your whole family. Su Lingchong held the mysterious man's reply with a dumbfounded expression. What did this mean? What was going on? Meng Tong took a look at the reply and said indignantly, "Isn't the higher-ups going too far? He was saying that if we offended Lin-y, we deserve to die. This is simply preposterous. Are we so unimportant?" Su Lingchong came back to his senses and shook his head with a bitter smile. "It's not that we're not important, but, all right, we're indeed not important. What's important is the Central's grand plan. We've never even heard of this plan. What do you think we are?" Meng Tong was speechless. He thought that he was very strong, but unfortunately, he realized that he was still just an ant. He couldn't even be considered a strong ant. Su Lingchong sighed softly. Lin-y, this pretentious boss, really isn't one to act pretentiously. Right now, he can already talk to our superiors and negotiate and even sign an agreement. This isn't on the same level as us at all. It seems like the gap between us and him is getting bigger and bigger. Meng Tong reached out and patted Su Lingchong's shoulder lightly. Then he said, "Maybe we're too comfortable. For example, now, without the potions provided by the Central, we've never thought about breaking through to the profound ascension stage by ourselves. We've lost our confidence and motivation. It's normal that the gap between us and Lin-y is getting bigger and bigger. Maybe we should also go out and explore if we can break through to the profound ascension stage without relying on the Central's potions. Our achievements in the future may be higher." Su Lingchong whispered thoughtfully, but thinking of the painstaking efforts of the past few years, it seemed that it would be a pity to give up now. "Forget it. Let's not provoke Lin-y for the time being. We'll think about it when we have the strength and opportunity in the future." Su Lingchong shook his head. He still couldn't give up what he had now. Maybe the Central would soon have the potions to break through to the profound ascension stage. At that time, the gap between them and Lin-y should be instantly closed. After Lin-y sent Jia Mufan away, Lu Bianren also found a room to continue stabilizing his strength. Only Lin-y and Shangguan Laner were left in the living room. As for Wei Xinjin and the rest, they went out to the North Island together. Yu Hua also wanted to buy a Yangji grass to return to Kaizhongyang. The fleet would only be docked for a day, so they had to hurry up and find it. Shangguan Laner sat on the chair next to Lin-y. First, she asked about Han Jingjing's situation. She was one of her two best friends. Of course, she was very concerned about her. Lin-y shook his head sadly and sighed. "There's still no news of Jingjing's spirit. This time, I went to the extreme North Island to participate in the auction. I want to buy the Spirit Gathering branch and see if I can find Jingjing's spirit with the help of the Spirit Gathering branch." Han Jingjing also sighed, and then comforted him. "Little junior brother, you don't have to worry too much. Jingjing will definitely be fine. If you buy that Spirit Gathering branch, maybe she will be able to come back." "I hope so." Lin-y nodded. He thought that after he bought the Spirit Gathering branch, the Central's reply to the secular world should have arrived. If there was still no news of Han Jingjing's spirit, he was ready to project his spirit back to find Han Jingjing again. This time, the extreme North Island's auction must be very lively. It's a pity that I have something to do at home. Otherwise, I could go with you. Shangguan Laner said with regret. This kind of bustle was her favorite, but it was a pity that she could only miss it this time. Lin-y asked casually, "What happened to your family? Was it because of this last time you suddenly came back last time. Looking at Shangguan Laner's appearance, it seemed that nothing major had happened. Lin was really puzzled. He didn't know what had happened for Shangguan Laner to rush back from Middle Island overnight and not go to the extreme North Island to participate in the auction. It's not that anything happened. My grandfather has a friend who came from the East Continent. It is said that he is a big shot in the East Continent. I could only stay to help entertain him. Then, he said that he would take me to the East Continent to cultivate. Really, he knows that I don't like to cultivate, but he still wants to take me to the East Continent so far away. Little brother, what do you think I should do? Shangguan Laner's little face changed into a depressed expression again. She really had an emoticon pack with her all the time. Lin also secretly laughed. Shangguan Laner's cultivation talent was definitely very strong, but this little girl was really born lazy. If she could cultivate seriously, her cultivation speed would definitely soar. Chapter 58-53. Genius in a Second. Remember to go. Shua.net, providing you with wonderful novel reading. You're thinking too much. Dongzhou is actually a very nice place, full of qi and beautiful sceneries. You'd definitely like it if you went there, and even if you don't train as hard, you'd still improve a lot faster there. Your grandpa would be very happy. Lin didn't know what to say, so he just said a few words of comfort. That's right. Shanghai Laner's eyes lit up. She asked with a smile, "Is what you said true?" "Of course it's true. I have been to the East Continent." Lin was about to continue to emphasize how abundant the spiritual qi in the East Continent was, how beautiful the scenery was, and how Shanghai Laner would definitely like the East Continent. However, this girl's words made him completely speechless. That's great. I can improve quickly without practicing very hard. Finally, I can deal with my grandfather. Shanghai Laner clapped her hands and cheered. Lin was speechless and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. This was the key point. Could they still have a good chat? When will your grandfather's friend take you to the East Continent? If possible, I will accompany you. I can take the opportunity to visit my friend in the East Continent. At that time, I can also show you around. Lin said with a smile. If there was time, he really wanted to accompany Shanghai Laner to the East Continent. That's great. If you can go to the East Continent with me, it can't be better. It's just that you may not be able to make it. After all, if you buy the Spirit Gathering branch, you should go back to Middle Island first, right? Shangguan Lan was still very loyal, always thinking about her good sister, Han Jingjing. It doesn't matter. I will catch up with you. Lin smiled and did not explain too much. There was a UFO in the space of his jade pendant. He did not want to attract attention, so he did not use it before. After buying the Spirit Gathering branch, Lin would, of course, rush back to Middle Island as soon as possible. At that time, he would not be in the mood to take the ancient battleship back, even though it would be safer. Shangguan Laner suddenly smiled and said, "That's not right. You'll definitely be able to catch up with me to the Eastern Continent. I heard that we're going to the Eastern Continent by riding an ancient warship, but those ancient warships seem to be busy recently, so they can't leave for the time being. When you return from the northernmost island, perhaps you can go with us." "Well, if that's the case, I'll go and beg my grandfather. Maybe he'll agree to let me follow you to the extreme North Island. That's for the best. When you go home, ask if you're okay now. If you have nothing to do, why don't you take a walk with me?" Lin wanted to see the progress of the King of Junk's forging. It had been a few years, and he didn't know how it was going. "Okay, I just ran out. Of course I'm fine. Let's go." Shanghai Laner stood up and was ready to leave. It was rare that Lin and Han Jingjing could be alone with him. Shanghai Laner felt that no matter what they were going to do, it would be a pleasant day. During the 2 years when Lin Yi was away, Han Jingjing and the others often went there to debug the automatic forging mechanism. Therefore, Shanghai Laner was very familiar with the King of Junk, hearing that they were going to the forging place. Although she was a little disappointed that she and Lin Yi would not have the time to be alone, she soon relaxed. Anyway, the forging pool was quite interesting. When they came to the secret cave, Shanghai Laner went in first. It could be seen that she was really familiar with this place. It was estimated that the reason why the King of Junk was able to forge here was because of Shanghai Laner. Otherwise, after the hole at the edge of the spiritual jade mine was exposed, it would have been filled up long ago. King of Junk, I'm here again. Are you there? Before Shangguanlan arrived, she had already greeted him. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he scanned the place with his divine sense. Naturally, he knew that Wang Lampa was inside, but the things in the pool were still the same. There didn't seem to be any progress. Little senior sister Shangguan, you're here. Is Miss Han with you? The King of Junk greeted them with surprise. Of course, he was most concerned about Han Jingjing because the automatic forging mechanism was only a little bit away from completion, but Han Jingjing left at the most critical time. If Han Jingjing could complete the automatic forging mechanism before she left, his efforts in the past few years would have come to a perfect end. Brother Wang, Jingjing didn't come, but I came. Lin Yi did not mention that Han Jingjing's spirit was missing, but just walked over with a smile. Brother Lin, you're back. The King of Junk was even more surprised, but then he said with a face full of shame, I'm sorry, Brother Lin, I haven't finished it yet. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, It's okay, I'm not in a hurry to use it anyway. This time, I came back to see you. You've worked hard these years. It's not hard at all. How can it be hard to have the opportunity to forge such a magic weapon? The King of Junk laughed and scratched the back of his head. Moreover, Miss Han's automatic forging mechanism is really powerful. With the help of this good thing, I don't need to stay here all the time. I can leave for a period of time occasionally. As they spoke, the three of them came to the side of the forging pool. Lin Yi poked his head out to take a look, but he couldn't see through it. The King of Junk was an absolute expert in this aspect, and although he had learned a lot of forging knowledge and techniques from him, he was still only at the beginner level in the eyes of the King of Junk. By the way, Brother Wang, do you know about the ghost-eyed eagle wings? Lin Yi suddenly remembered the pair of ghost-eyed eagle king wings that he had obtained previously. According to the ghost, it was the best weapon for escaping. Although he didn't need to escape now, it didn't mean that he wouldn't encounter a powerful enemy. Even the powerful dragon of 5 evils could only hide under the pool, and with his current strength, it was always good to have more trump cards. The King of Junk's eyes lit up. Of course I do. Did Brother Lin obtain the ghost-eyed eagle king wings? Although the ghost-eyed eagle king is not a very rare spiritual beast, it's difficult to capture it, so it's very difficult to obtain a pair of wings. To be honest, Brother Lin, I think you're too lucky. But considering that you can obtain ancient Pure Lands, 1,000-year tree crystals, and even 10,000-year tree crystals, it's not surprising that you have a pair of superb wings like the ghost-eyed eagle king wings. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, I haven't said anything yet, and Brother Wang has already guessed what I have in my hand. You're really amazing. Chapter 58-54. Genius 1 second, remember love, go away, to provide you with exciting novels to read. This is all common sense. The main material of the Ghost Eye Eagle wings is the Ghost Eye Eagle King wings. Without this pair of wings, why would you even mention the Ghost Eye wings? The tattered king waved his hands nonchalantly, then looked at Lin Yi with a fervent gaze. Brother Lin, did you bring the item? Let me take a look. Linny originally wanted to ask the tattered king to help refine the ghost eye wings, so he took out a pair of palm-sized black wings and handed it to the tattered king. The restriction on this is not bad. It actually shrunk the ghost eye eagle king wings by so many times. The tattered king praised casually, then focused all his attention on the wings. If the restriction was removed, the ghost eye eagle king wings would be bigger than Lin E. It was the same when it was displayed at the auction. The tattered king did not touch the restriction, as this was a one-time use item. If it was broken, it would be useless. Great, this pair of wings is very complete and has been preserved very well. The ghost eye eagle king wings would definitely be top-notch. Brother Lin, do you have any other materials? The tattered king's eyes lit up. He was already used to Lin Yi's miracles, so he naturally thought that Lin Yi must have gathered all the other materials. Lin Yi took out the materials that Honest Chai had gathered and handed them to the tattered king. I have most of them. Only one thing is missing, the ghost cicada wings. Brother Wang, do you know where I can find the ghost cicada wings? The tattered king shook his head, regretfully. I really don't know. The rarity of the ghost cicada wings is even higher than the ghost eye eagle king wings. Although the main body of the ghost eye eagle king wings are made from the ghost eye eagle king wings, the ghost cicada wings are the most important catalyst. If it were other materials, they could be substituted, but the ghost cicada wings cannot be substituted. Perhaps the ghost cicada wings will appear in the auction in the extreme North Island. Anyway, you are going to participate in the auction. You can take the opportunity to look around. Shangguan Laner said with a smile. Lin Yi's eyes suddenly lit up. He was absolutely right. This auction in the extreme North Island was different from the past. It was full of high-grade goods. Maybe there would really be a ghost cicada wing, but the price would definitely be ridiculously high. There was a huge difference in the prices of the auctions in the Heaven Rank Island. For example, the same yellow rank 7th grade elixir might only be sold for a few 100,000 to 1 million spiritual jades in the Middle Island, West Island, and North Island. In the East Island, it might soar to about 4 million or 5 million spiritual jades, and in the most high-end auctions in the northernmost island, it was very normal to have 6 or 7 million spiritual jades. Therefore, the really good things were generally not auctioned in the 3 central, western, and western islands. Even the ordinary auctions in the northernmost island were much better than those in the 3 islands, not to mention the top auction this time. Love go small say neck because of this. Although Linny had tens of millions of spiritual jades, he could only refine some elixirs as a backup. Who knew how high the price of the spirit-gathering branch and the soul-nourishing wood would be? There were no lack of rich people in the world. It would be best if I could get the ghost cicada wings in this auction. Brother Wang, do you have anything else you want me to buy? Linny wanted to buy it, so he simply asked the King of Rags what he needed. Any problem that could be solved with spiritual jades was not a problem. The King of Rags carefully put away the ghost eye eagle king's wings and several materials, then shook his head and said, I don't need them for the time being. Now I have to concentrate on refining your weapon and wings. I can't think about other things, lest I get distracted. Shangguan Laner giggled and said, Then do you want to close your small forging pavilion, lest you get distracted? It was just a joke, but the King of Rags nodded naturally and said, If I have the ghost cicada wings, I really need to close my business for a while. But now I can't do anything, so I have to keep it open. Lin Yi asked in surprise, Brother Wang, did you open your own forging pavilion? Not bad, not bad. Your business should be good, right? The King of Rags scratched his head in embarrassment and said, I don't retail. Speaking of which, thanks to you, I have the opportunity to cooperate with President Hong of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. This forging pavilion is just a place where I refine some small things in my free time and then hand them over to the Hong Chamber of Commerce for sale. On the one hand, it can increase my ability of forging weapons, and on the other hand, I can earn some pocket money. When Lin Yi first met the King of Rags, he was so poor. Of course, at that time, Lin Yi only had dozens or hundreds of spiritual jades with him, which was at most a little better than the King of Rags. Isn't it good? Speaking of which, how is Brother Hong Zhong now? I'm going to visit him this time. Is he still in the North Island? Lin Yi casually asked about Hong Zhong. When he left Middle Island, he was worried that something had happened to Hong Zhong, which caused the people of the Hong Chamber of Commerce to be so hostile to him, the honorary vice president. But according to the King of Rags, it seemed that nothing had happened to Hong Zhong. President Hong is very good. He often mentions you. Why don't we go to him now? After saying that, the King of Rags turned around and ran back to the casting pool. He carefully observed the situation inside, and then operated the automatic casting mechanism for a while. Then he turned back and said, "Well, we can go now. There will be no problem here for a short time." Linny nodded and said, "Then let's go. I don't have much time to come back this time. After visiting the Hong Chamber of Commerce, it's almost time to go back to the ship." Shangguan Laner's eyes dimmed slightly. Obviously, she didn't want to be separated from Lin Yi so soon, but she immediately recovered and didn't let them find out what she was thinking. Anyway, Lin Yi had promised her that he would catch up with her soon, and then go to East Continent together. After the three of them exited the cave, the King of Dilapidation closed the formation that he had set up outside. As a blacksmith, it was a must to learn Formation Dao. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to refine high-level items. Over the past 2 years, his understanding of Formation Dao had improved by several levels. Therefore, the formation at the entrance of the cave was quite good. At least, it could prevent people from entering the cave casually, talking and laughing. It took them a long time to arrive at the Hong Chamber of Commerce. The King of Rags didn't follow them in. Instead, he said that he would go to his forging pavilion to have a look and would come back to find Linny later. Chapter 58-55. When the shop assistant inside saw Lin Yi and Shangguan Laner, he immediately greeted them with a smile and bowed respectfully. "Vice President Lin, Miss Shangguan, long time no see. Are you looking for Shopkeeper Hong?" Lin Yi felt that the shop assistant was a little familiar. He probably knew him before, so he knew his identity at a glance. "Is Shopkeeper Hong here? If he is, please inform him." Lin Yi smiled and said gently to the shop assistant, "Vice President Lin, you're too polite. Shopkeeper Hong is upstairs. He has instructed that if Vice President Lin comes, you can go and look for him directly. There's no need for any notification." The shop assistant turned sideways and respectfully invited them upstairs. Linny nodded and said, "Thank you very much." Shangguan Laner giggled and said, "Little junior brother, you have a big face. If I came here, I wouldn't have this kind of treatment. I have to inform before I can see Shopkeeper Hong." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "If you are also the honorary vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, you will definitely have this privilege." That being said, Lin Yi also knew that this was not the case. Hong Zhong valued him completely because of their friendship, not because he was an honorary vice president. Otherwise, even if there was a vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, Hong Zhong would completely ignore him. "Ha ha ha ha, Miss Shangguan, you are a rare guest. Just come and find me in the future. Let's see who dares to stop you." Hong Zhong appeared above the stairs. He should know that Lin Yi was here, so he specially came out to greet Lin Yi. Lin Yi went forward and cupped his fists. He smiled and said, "Brother Hong, long time no see. You are still as elegant as before." Hong Zhong came up and pulled Lin Yi's arm. He smiled and said, You also know that we haven't seen each other for a long time. Tell me, how should I punish you? Why is there a punishment? Then I will have to eat and live here every day from now on. Lin Yi also said with a smile. He and Hong Zhong got along because of interests, but gradually they became sincere friends. Especially at the last auction in the far North Island, their relationship quickly warmed up. Now, they were close friends. Ha 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 ha, that's the best. I can't even invite you. As long as you are willing to stay here, I can give you the entire Hong Chamber of Commerce in the North Island. Hong Zhong laughed heartily, and then made an inviting gesture to Shangguan Lan'er. As expected of the manager of the North Island of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, he treated people impeccably. Lin Yi and Hong Zhong chatted and laughed as they entered the VIP room. Naturally, someone brought them spirit tea and spirit fruits. Shangguan Lan'er didn't stand on ceremony. She picked up a spirit fruit and started munching on it. She knew that Lin Yi had something to say to Hong Zhong, so she could only quietly be a foodie. After chatting casually for a while, Lin Yi asked casually, "Brother Hong, is there a lot of factions in the Hong's Chamber of Commerce?" Hong Zhong was slightly stunned and said, "Brother Lin, why do you ask this? Did someone in the Hong Chamber of Commerce make things difficult for you? Tell me, I will definitely seek justice for you." Lin Yi waved his hand and said with a smile, "It's not that serious. It's just that when I went to the far North Island to participate in the auction, the Zhongdao Hong Chamber of Commerce was led by a vice president named Wei Jiading. When I boarded the ship, I thought that I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce, so I went to greet them, but they ignored me. At that time, I was worried that something had happened to you, causing me to lose my backer in the Hong Chamber of Commerce." "Ha ha ha ha, how can I be your backer? With your ability, Brother Lin, it's not an exaggeration to say that you are my backer." After making a joke, Hong Zhong slowly became serious and said, "Where there are people, there are conflicts. There are naturally many fights for power in the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Although I am a member of the Hong family, I am not a direct descendant. Moreover, the Hong family's eldest branch that I support is not strong enough, so it is difficult for me to enter the core." Lin Yi remembered that Hong Zhong had returned to the Zhongdao headquarters to be the vice president, but in the end, he still came to the North Island. So what he said was true. Wei Jiading is also the vice president, but he is not on the same side as me. He is a hardcore supporter of the second branch of the Hong family and has never been friends with me. Moreover, he is Wei Xiaodong's uncle. Do you think he will treat you well when you greet him? Hong Zhong shook his head with a bitter smile. Wei Xiaodong used to be the helper he recommended to Lin Yi, but he almost killed Lin Yi, which was really embarrassing. Lin Yi didn't care. He shrugged casually and said, "I see, but let him be, as long as he doesn't provoke me. By the way, Brother Hong, didn't you prepare anything for the auction in the far North Island?" "I still have to go, but I will go with the people of the Zhongdao headquarters. I won't bring anything. There are no good things in the North Island. I may not even be qualified to attend the auction. The main thing is to buy some good things and make them the treasures of the shop." Hong Zhong laughed at himself. The last auction of that level was the stage for the North Island branch to show off their skills. The main character of this top auction could only be the Zhongdao headquarters. Of course, if someone from the East Island branch also went there, maybe there would be some good things. After a short pause, Hong Zhong still reminded him, "Brother Lin, don't underestimate Wei Jiading. He is narrow-minded and will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. I think he will definitely find a chance to avenge Wei Xiaodong. Even if you are not afraid of him, you have to guard against him." Lin Yi really didn't care much about Wei Jiading, but he still had to listen to Hong Zhong's kind reminder. "I know what I'm doing. Brother Hong, don't worry." Lin Yi nodded with a smile and continued, "This time I can go to the far north island with you again. We can have a good chat on the way." It was enough to mention Wei Jiating's matter once, so Hong Zhong didn't say anything more. Instead, he smiled and said, "That's right. Luckily, I decided to go with the fleet. If I had ridden an aerial spirit beast, I would have missed this opportunity." Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Wei Xinjin and Shang Yuhua might come to ask about the Yangpole grass, so he asked casually, "Brother Hong, do you have the Yangpole grass here? I have a friend who needs it. I don't know if he has been here before." "I haven't seen your friend before, but the Yangpole grass is a very rare and precious spirit herb. If I have it here, I can directly auction it in the far north island. I can get at least 1,000,000 or 800,000 spirit jades." Hong Zhong knew about the Yangpole grass, but the price he said surprised Lin. Chapter 58-56. Hong Zhong didn't know about Shangwani, so he nodded casually and said, "That's an understatement. You have to know that the prices in the far north island are completely different from those in the far north island. Perhaps the Yangpole grass can only be sold for tens of thousands of spirit jades here, but the problem is that you can't buy it at all." Lin Yi suddenly understood. In fact, he had been to all the islands, so he had some understanding of the differences in prices. It was just that he hadn't thought about it. Because of this huge difference in prices, the Tiandan Pavilion's high-grade elixirs were very attractive to Shangwani. As long as he obtained the authorization, he could resell it to the far north island or the east continent, and he would definitely make a huge profit. If that was the case, Kai Zhongyang would be in trouble if he lost the Yangpole grass. Fortunately, Yu Hua and Shangwani both said that they would bear the consequences of the Yangpole grass. If it was only 2 or 3 million spirit jades, then it wouldn't be a problem for the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Hong Zhong thought about it and said, "Actually, I underestimated the value of the Yangpole grass. There's another factor that I didn't take into account." Lin Yi was thinking about Kai Zhongyang's troubles, so he asked casually, "What factor?" "There aren't many elixirs that can be used for Yangpole grass, but its main use is to refine the yin yang pill. The other main ingredient of the yin yang pill is the yin core fruit. Brother Lin, as a high-grade alchemist, you must have heard of it, right?" Hong Zhong didn't know that not only had Lin Yi heard of it, but he had also refined the yin yang pill by himself, saving Shangwani's life. However, Lin Yi was also a little embarrassed. If it wasn't for Shangwani's cultivation deviation, he really wouldn't have known about the yin and yang pill, Yangpole grass, and yin core fruit. Being praised by Hong Zhong like that made him a little embarrassed. Without waiting for Lin Yi's reply, Hong Zhong continued, "Compared to yang grass, the yin core fruit is produced much more. This is because a yin core fruit tree usually has about 20 yin core fruits, while yang grass only grows in a certain area. So, although both are the main ingredients of the yin-yang pill, in terms of value, yang grass is at least 10 times more valuable than yin core fruit." "So that's how it is." Lin Yi nodded lightly, but in his heart, he was thinking, why did that old man Zheng Dongxing take out the dark core fruit? Although the value of the dark core fruit was not as high as the Yangpole grass, on the ancient battleship, the spiritual jades that Zheng Dongxing received were far from the true value of the dark core fruit. To say that this old man was sincere in saving people, Lin Yi would never believe it even if he was beaten to death. They were the ones who poisoned him. How could he be so kind as to take out the dark core fruit? Thinking of this, Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. According to what Shangwani said, his cultivation deviation was caused by poisoning, and the person who poisoned him was most likely someone from the Zheng family. If that was the case, why did Zheng Dongxing sell a dark core fruit at such a high price? Could it be that he was hot-headed and deliberately wanted to squander? Perhaps Zheng Dongxing really just wanted to create an opportunity for his grandson, Zheng Tianqing, to win over Li Zhaoyi, but Lin Yi's intuition told him that this matter was definitely not that simple. At that time, Shang Yuhua was already willing to take out hundreds of thousands of spiritual jades to buy the dark core fruit. There was no reason for Zheng Dongxing not to earn spiritual jades. A vague idea gradually formed, but Linny had not been able to completely connect the clues, so he could only put it aside for the time being. As they were talking about the Yangpole grass, Lin Yi's divine sense saw Wei Shenjin, Shang Yuhua, Xiao Ran, and Qiao Hongkai walking into the Hong Chamber of Commerce together. Xiao Ran and Qiao Hongkai were Lin Yi's underlings, so they naturally had a good relationship with the Hong Chamber of Commerce. They knew all the employees, so when they entered, they were told that Lin Yi was upstairs with Shanghai Laner without needing Lin Yi's greeting. The four of them were led to the VIP room by the employee. "Boss, so you've been here for a long time. We are the ones who are late." Wei Shunjin held Shang Yuhua's hand and greeted them with a smile. Xiao Ran and Qiao Hongkai also greeted Lin Yi and the other two before sitting down. "Did you guys find anything after walking around for a day?" Lin Yi guessed that there was no hope of finding the Yangpole grass, but he still asked, "What if they were lucky?" Shang Yuhua frowned slightly and said, "We didn't find the Yangpole grass." "Boss, since you're here, you must have asked Manager Hong. It seems that there's no other way this time." Hong Zhong thought to himself that it was the people from the Universal Chamber of Commerce who wanted the Yangpole grass. If he had it, he wouldn't mind selling it to Shang Yuhua for Lin Yi's sake. Unfortunately, he didn't have it, so there was nothing more to say. In the North Island, the Hong's Chamber of Commerce and the people from the Universal Chamber of Commerce didn't have much of a relationship. Not only that, but there was also a huge conflict between them. If it weren't for Lin Yi, the employees of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce wouldn't even let Shang Yuhua in. This kind of spirit herb is something that can only be found by chance. Don't worry too much about it. Lin Yi could only comfort him. Now he only hoped that Kai Zhongyang's customers could be settled with spirit stones, or else he would be in big trouble. Thinking of this, Lin Yi suddenly had an idea. His vague guess just now instantly became clear. Kai Zhongyang was in big trouble. Could it be that the Zheng family's target wasn't Shang Wani and Li Zhaoyi at all, but Kai Zhongyang? Compared to that, the other two were just incidental? But there seemed to be no conflict between Kai Zhongyang and the Zheng family. Why would the idiots of the Zheng family plot against him? Of course, if there was a conflict, it was only because Kai Zhongyang was close to Lin Yi, so he naturally became the Zheng family's enemy. Kai Zhongyang was being targeted because of his relationship with him. Lin Yi's eyes instantly became extremely cold. If this guess was true, then the Zheng family really didn't know what was good for them. How could they plot against his friend for such a reason? This made him even angrier than directly targeting Lin Yi himself. As for whether this was true, it would be clear as long as he waited until he reached the northernmost island and saw how much trouble Kai Zhongyang would get into because of this. At that time, Lin Yi would definitely let the Zheng family know that playing with fire would only result in self-immolation. "Brother Lin, what's the matter with you?" Hong Zhong noticed the sudden change in Lin Yi's body at the first moment. Even he was secretly shocked by the cold and bone-chilling killing intent. In the past, Lin Yi's strength was not even comparable to an ant to him, but now he could move him. This speed of progress was really too terrifying. Lin Yi took a light breath and quickly restrained the aura on his body. After returning to his normal appearance, he smiled and said, "Nothing, I just suddenly thought of something else." Chapter 58-57. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "It's nothing, you don't have to worry. After shopping for so long today, didn't you buy anything?" Shang Yuhua's mind was sharp. Seeing that Lin Yi wanted to change the topic, she immediately cooperated and said, "Middle Island has everything else, so I didn't buy anything. However, The things in the Central Chamber of Commerce are really dazzling and varied, and all of them are high-tech products of the secular world. Unfortunately, the price is too expensive. Although it is much cheaper than the Central Chamber of Commerce in Middle Island, it is still extremely expensive. Linny smiled slightly and said, "Miss Zhang, you are a rich person. If even you say that it is expensive, then it seems that their business should not be particularly good." Xiao Ran snorted and said, "That fellow Su Lingchong probably thinks that if he doesn't open his business for 3 years, he would eat for 3 years after opening his business. That's why he sold those junk at the most expensive price." Shang Yuhua and the others couldn't help but be speechless. The things in the Central Chamber of Commerce were all popular goods on Heaven Stage Island. Xiao Ren actually said that they were all junk. It should be that the previous conflict had not subsided, right? They didn't know that in the eyes of people from the secular world, like Xiao Ran and Lin Yi, the things sold by the Central Chamber of Commerce, even if they were not junk, they were almost the same as junk. In the secular world, 90% of the goods sold by the Central Chamber of Commerce in North Island were almost obsolete. Ordinary people didn't care much about them. After coming to Heaven Stage Island, they became treasures. Wei Xinjin sighed regretfully and said, "Boss also went to the secular world this time. Unfortunately, it was a projection of his primordial spirit, so he couldn't bring back anything. Otherwise, he could have made a lot of money." Lin Yi's heart moved. Although he was a projection of his primordial spirit, the space of the jade pendant could carry a lot of things. Unfortunately, he didn't think about this when he went back to the secular world this time, so he didn't bring back many things. But this wasn't the point. The point was that the wormhole tunnel in the center had been opened to Lin Yi. As long as Han Jingjing came back and studied this wormhole tunnel, she could trade between Heaven Stage Island and the secular world like the center. This was a good business with low capital and great profits. If the center could do it, Lin Yi could do it too. Although breaking the monopoly would inevitably lead to a decrease in price, and the more products would eventually become less valuable, this was also the goal he wanted to achieve. Otherwise, if the center only made money in this aspect, Lin Yi wouldn't have a good life in the future. A year of truce was not a long time. After a year, there would always be a battle with the center. After a year, there would always be a battle. If the soldiers and horses were to move, the food and FOT, no matter what the center was, the war would be to fight. If Lin Yi didn't have, he to fight with the center, he to do, he need to, using the wormhole tunnel to compete with the center was the best way. Oh, your idea is good. Don't worry, there will be a chance to realize your idea in the future. Lin Yi said with a smile. This plan was good, but the most important thing was to wait for Han Jingjing to come back. It was too early to talk about it now. It wouldn't be too late to think about it next time. They chatted for a while. Someone from the soaring pavilion came to look for Lin Yi, saying that her grandfather was looking for her. Shangguan Laner could only make an appointment with Lin Yi to see her in a while. She also wanted to ask Shanghai Tianhua if she could follow Lin Yi to the far North Island. Lin Yi originally wanted to visit Shanghai Tianhua, but Lan said that he was accompanying an old friend from the East Continent and probably didn't have time to see him, so he could only ask Shangguan Laner to greet him on his behalf. Not long after Shangguan Laner left, Wei Jiading came to the North Island branch of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce with a few followers. He arrogantly ordered the shop assistant, "Where is Hong Zhong? Ask him to come out and see me." The shop assistant knew that this was the vice president of Zhongdao's headquarters. Of course, he didn't dare to neglect him. He hurriedly went up to inform Hong Zhong and Lin Yi. Although the two of them didn't want to talk to this guy, he was still a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Even if they belonged to different camps, they still had to give him some face. Vice President Wei, I haven't seen you for a long time. I thought you wouldn't get off the ship today. I was about to board the ship with Brother Lin, but I didn't expect you to come here. Hong Zhong greeted him with a smile. This was already giving Wei Jiating a lot of face. As for Lin Yi, he followed beside Hong Zhong and didn't look at Wei Jiating at all. Since this guy didn't give him face on the ancient warship, he naturally didn't need to be polite to this fool. Lin Yi never had the habit of going up to his enemies to get on their good side. Whenever he did, it was mostly to give the enemy a big slap in the face. Wei Jiating looked arrogant. He slightly raised his chin and said slowly, Hong Zhong, the fleet to the far north island will leave soon. Hurry up and take some people to help load and unload the goods. Don't waste time. Hong Zhong's face turned cold. He put away his smile and said faintly, the fleet will naturally arrange people to load and unload the goods. Since when does our Chamber of Commerce need to send people? Besides, this time the North Island branch doesn't have any goods that need to be brought. Will there always be things that need to be sold in the North Island? Why are you talking so much nonsense? Just go when I tell you to go. Do you dare to disobey my orders? Wei Jiating didn't know what provoked him, but he actually directly gave orders to Hong Zhong. Hong Zhong suddenly sneered and said, How powerful! Wei Jiating, could it be that I, Hong Zhong, have been stripped of my position as the vice president? Or have you become the president of our Hong's Chamber of Commerce? Otherwise, I really don't know where you get the confidence to order me. What kind of vice president are you? How dare you talk back to me? Wei Jiating glanced at Hong Zhong disdainfully and said in an extremely disdainful tone, You're just the shopkeeper of the North Island branch. How dare you say that you're the vice president? Which vice president with real power would leave Middle Island? Hong Zhong didn't give in and retorted, It was my own idea to leave Middle Island. Do you think that you forced me to leave? Don't flatter yourself. In the end, you're just a dog of our Hong family. Remember, my surname is Hong, and your surname is Wei. Wei Jiating was stunned by Hong Zhong's words and suddenly felt a little speechless. Because Hong Zhong was right. No matter how he wasn't a direct descendant, he was still a member of the Hong family. And Wei Jiating was an outsider. Although Wei Jiating was confident that he could suppress Hong Zhong, after hearing these words, he was extremely angry in his heart, but he couldn't show it. Chapter 58. Lin Yi was amused by him. Is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Even I'm being ordered around by him. This is the North Island, not his courtyard. Hong Zhong said angrily, Wei Jiating, Brother Lin is the honorary vice president of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce. Don't you know what an honorary vice president is? How dare you command an honorary vice president? Even if the president is here, he wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Do you really want to rebel? Lin Yi reached out to pull Hong Zhong and gestured for him to calm down. Then he looked at Wei Jiating quietly and said, Wei, I remember that we docked at the North Island this time. We don't need to load or unload any goods. The Hong's Chamber of Commerce's goods are directly sent to the North Island for auction on the ship. What do you want to load or unload all of a sudden? Are you going to unload it and then install it? Do you have nothing better to do? Wei Jiating snorted coldly. He calmly said, I'm here to buy some things, and I'm going to take them to the northernmost island to participate in the auction, so I need your help. His tone obviously softened. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said to Hong Zhong, Brother Hong, let's go and see what good things this old guy bought. That's what I'm thinking. Let's go and have a look together. The corner of Hong Zhong's mouth curled up. Was this Wei Jiating really an idiot? Was he risking his own future just to make Hong Zhong lose face? Hong Zhong didn't believe that he had purchased enough things to participate in the extreme North Island's auction. If there really was such a thing, he would have bought it and taken it himself. How could he wait for Wei Jiating to come and interfere. When he went out, Lin Yi almost laughed out of anger. There were a lot of things bought. Several big cars were full, but all of them were secular goods sold by the Central Chamber of Commerce, and they were of the lowest level. This kind of thing, in the secular world, would be picked up by scavengers to use. If brought to the heavenly stage island, it would only be used as a decoration for the fashionable people to buy. With just this kind of trash, he dared to say that he would take it to the extreme North Island to participate in the auction? Do you think we're all blind? Hong Zhong looked at Wei Jiating with a mocking expression and said, Vice President Wei really has a unique vision, specifically picking things that others don't want to buy. The problem is that others don't want to buy them. Are you sure that the extreme North Island's auction will allow you to auction these things? Shang Yuhua, who followed behind, also despised Wei Jiating. She, Wei Shinjin, and the others had gone to the Central Chamber of Commerce to take a look. Of course, they knew that these carriages of goods were the cheapest. If they were to buy these things, the daughter of the vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce could also afford it, because all these goods, added up, were not worth as much as a fine item. Wei Jiating didn't look ashamed at all. He boasted shamelessly, What do you know about my foresight? You just need to deliver the things to me on the boat. Could it be that I need to explain every decision I make to you? Lin Yi said with a sneer, Vice President Wei is really smart. You know that the things in the Central Chamber of Commerce of Zhongdao will be more expensive than those in the North Island. So you specially came to the North Island to prepare the goods. The problem is that you, the Vice President of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, went to the Central Chamber of Commerce to buy a large number of junk, and then said that you will auction them in the extreme North Island. I really want to know, do you want to make the Central Chamber of Commerce proud? Or do you want to lose face for the Hong Chamber of Commerce? These words were extremely harsh, and he almost pointed at Wei Jiating's nose and scolded him as a traitor. But after thinking about it carefully, things were really exactly as Lin Yi said. If he went to other chambers of commerce to buy some things that he needed, it was okay. But he specially went to the Central Chamber of Commerce to buy unique goods and then auction them. What would the Hong Chamber of Commerce become? Even if Wei Jiating was thick-skinned, he couldn't help but change his expression slightly. Not to mention anything else. If these words were heard by the higher-ups of the headquarters of Zhongdao, no matter how much he was the vice president, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Hong Zhong was also an understanding person. He immediately laughed and said, Vice President Wei, could it be that you are preparing to switch to the Central Chamber of Commerce? So, you are promoting the Central Chamber of Commerce in advance. Just like that traitor, Si Haixiao. I heard that he is doing well in Zhongdao now. You are old acquaintances, right? If he continued to say this, Wei Jiating could directly change his name to a traitor and be labeled as a traitor. Damn it, he didn't have any words to refute. Ha ha ha, you can't be thinking that these are the things that I want to auction, right? Don't joke around. These are just gifts that I bought to bring back to give to others. The things that can really be auctioned, of course, I have to carry them with me. Now that things had come to this, Wei Jiating had no choice but to quickly overturn his original words, lest he fell deeper and deeper into the pit that he had dug. So they are all Vice President Wei's personal goods? I don't think that's what you said just now. Lin Yi looked at Wei Jiating with a smile that wasn't quite a smile on his face. He walked up slowly and patted the goods on the carts lightly. A tiny electric arc shot out of his palm and circled around all the goods in an instant. Lin Yi was definitely very familiar with destroying this kind of electronic product. He could even paralyze a base in the secular world. So a few carts of goods were really child's play. Wei Jiating didn't even know that the things that he had spent a large amount of spirit jade to buy had all been scrapped. He was still there laughing and saying, Really? Maybe you heard wrong. No matter what, as the vice president of the Hong Consortium's headquarters, it's only right and proper for him to requisition people from the North Island branch. Even the president won't say much. Only you guys have so much nonsense to say. Hong Zhong sneered and said, Wei Jiating, you think too highly of yourself, don't you? Even the president won't requisition a vice president and an honorary vice president to help him move his personal goods. Do you really think that the Hong Consortium is going to change its surname to Wei? Feeling that the topic was going back to those sensitive areas, Wei Jiating hurriedly waved his hand and said impatiently, Don't change the topic and don't slander me. You disobeyed my orders and refused to cooperate with the work of Zhongdao's headquarters. That's your fault. I won't talk nonsense with you today. When I return to Zhongdao, I will naturally report what happened today to the executive vice president. Chapter 58-59. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, Brother Hong, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't care about the title of honorary vice president. Let's go. Don't bother with such a person with a worrying IQ. Let's go back and continue chatting. Hong Zhong didn't look at the livid Wei Jiating. He turned around and walked back with Lin Yi with a smile. Brother Lin, don't think that everyone in the Hong's Chamber of Commerce is so stupid. We have been friends for several years. Don't give up. If the title of honorary vice president of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce was a very high status for Lin Yi in the past, and he needed to work hard to maintain it, then now it had been completely reversed. It was the honor of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce to have a senior alchemist like Lin Yi as the honorary vice president of the Hong's Chamber of Commerce. Not to mention impeaching Lin Yi. If he wanted to leave, the Hong's Chamber of Commerce would try its best to persuade him to stay. Lin Yi knew this, and Hong Zhong was even more clear about it. Only an idiot like Wei Jiating would ask Lin Yi to move goods for him and even threaten them with impeaching Lin Yi and Hong Zhong. No one would believe that he didn't want to destroy the Hong's Chamber of Commerce. Wei Jiating snorted coldly. He didn't have the face to continue to show off here. He left the Hong's Chamber of Commerce with a gloomy face and went directly to the dock to board the ship. As for the junk he bought, he would probably not know until he returned to the Central Island and gave it away. After returning upstairs, Lin Yi asked Hong Zhong if he had seen the ghost cicada wing. Of course, he hadn't. It was really difficult to find the really precious things in the North Island, probably because the price was too low. For example, the ghost cicada wing could only be sold for 50,000 to 60,000 spiritual jades in the North Island. If it was taken to the Central Island, it could be sold for at least 200,000 to 300,000 spiritual jades. It might even be sold for more than $1 million at the last auction. The price in the extreme North Island would only be higher than that in the Central Island. Therefore, good things would not stay in the 3 Central, Western, and Northern Islands. Of course, there would occasionally be opportunities to pick up scraps, but such opportunities were extremely rare. Lin Yi didn't think that he would be able to get what he wanted just by casually wandering around. After a short while, Shanghai Laner sent someone to inform Lin Yi that her grandfather didn't allow her to go to the northernmost island. Instead, she wanted to stay here to accompany her future master. However, Shanghai Tianhua still attached great importance to Lin Yi. So, when he came back from the northernmost island, he must go and see him. Since Shanghai Laner couldn't go with them, Lin Yi didn't continue to wait. It was almost time for the fleet to set off again. They simply bid farewell to Xiao Ran and others and returned to the ancient battleship with Hong Zhong. When Okuda saw Lin Yi coming back, he smiled and greeted him. Brother Lin, you're back. Manager Hong is also here. I've already arranged a room for you. It's not far from Brother Lin's. Is that good? Hong Zhong smiled and cupped his fists. Thank you, Captain Okuda. This is exactly what I wanted. We haven't seen each other for a while. Let's have a drink later. No problem. I've been waiting for you to say that. Okutaba laughed heartily. It seemed that the relationship between the two was very good. Lin-Yi didn't know whether it was a friendship from before or a new development in the past 2 years. Anyway, Lin-Yi was very happy. Brother Okuda, are you waiting for some big shot to come? Lin-Yi asked casually. The number of people on the northern island who could make Okuda-ba personally wait for them could be counted with one hand. Shanghai Tianhua probably wouldn't come. Otherwise, Shanghai Laner would definitely follow them to the northern island. Okuda-ba shook his head and smiled. No, I'm waiting for you, Brother Lin. After we set sail today, the crew on the ship will be complete. So, I'll be leading a small trade fair in the evening. Consider it as a warm-up for the auction on the northern island. This is the jade token to enter. Brother Lin, if you're interested, you can come and have a look. Brother Okuda specially gave me a jade token. You're too polite. Lin-Yi said in surprise. He took the jade token and thanked Okuda-ba. For this kind of thing, he could just find someone to give him a jade token. There was no need to wait for him to come back, right? He knew about this small-scale trade fair. The passengers on the ancient warship were either rich or powerful. It was necessary to conduct a small-scale trade fair before arriving at the extreme North Island. On the one hand, it could give those who wanted to collect spirit jades more time to prepare. On the other hand, it could also consume some of the potential opponents' financial and material resources in advance. Okuda-ba laughed and said, I'm afraid that I'll forget about you when I'm busy. So, I took advantage of my free time to come out for a walk and wait for you. This jade token can bring 2 people in. So, I won't give you little ways. But you can't save on shopkeeper hongs. Hong Zhong took the jade token from Okuda-ba and laughed. Look at your pained expression. Is this jade token very expensive? No, it's only 10,000 spiritual jades. Those who can participate in the trade fair are all people with status. This entrance fee is still necessary. Okuda-ba didn't hide it. He smiled and winked at Hong Zhong. It's just to earn some pocket money. In any case, I have to provide the venue and some food and drinks. 10,000 spiritual jades really isn't expensive, you unscrupulous merchant. Fortunately, you didn't open a chamber of commerce to steal business. Otherwise, you'd be a formidable opponent. Hong Zhong laughed and joked. Then they walked in together. Shang Yuhua excused herself and left. This time, they couldn't buy Yangji grass in the North Island. She had to discuss with Shang Wani how to solve the problem of Kai Zhongyang. After all, Kai Zhongyang took out the Yangji grass for them. They couldn't burn the bridge after crossing it. Okuda-ba had a lot of things to prepare for the trade fair in the evening, so he left after saying a few words to Lin-Yi and Hong Zhong. Fortunately, it was getting late, and the trade fair was about to start. Lin-Yi, Hong Zhong, and Wei Shinjin went to the venue to wait. Ho Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and the others naturally had jade plates from Okuda-ba, so Lin-Yi didn't need to worry about them. After sitting for a while, the two came together and greeted Hong Zhong. After a while, Shang Wani also came with Shang Yuhua. When he saw Kai Zhongyang, he immediately came over and said apologetically, Chairman Kai, I'm sorry. This time, I didn't buy Yangji grass in the North Island. I'm really sorry that you got into trouble. When we get to the North Island, I'll definitely help explain. I'll also bear all the subsequent losses. Chairman Kai, you don't have to be so polite. We're rivals in the business world and friends in private. You don't have to worry about this. Kai Zhongyang smiled and waved his hand. Of course, he couldn't really not care. But now that things had come to this, there was no point in saying anything more. Chapter 58-60. That being said, He also knew that the chances of finding another Yongpol grass on this ship were extremely low. On the other hand, he might be able to find a Yin core fruit. After all, this fruit was much more abundant than Yangpol grass. Kai Zhongyang didn't say anything more. This matter had already reached the point where he could only take one step at a time. There was really nothing more to say. Slowly, more and more people entered the venue. Most of them knew each other. No matter what their relationship was, it was necessary to greet each other. Therefore, the people around Lin Yi gradually dispersed. This small trade fair was similar to a wine party in the secular world. Eat, drink, and build relationships. In the end, everyone would take out what they were willing to trade and say what they wanted. If they were satisfied, then they would close the deal. It was very simple. Wei Shenjin naturally didn't leave Lin Yi's side, so Shang Yuhua also stayed. The three of them chatted in an inconspicuous corner, drank tea, and ate spirit fruits. It was very comfortable. When most of the people had arrived, Okuda-ba stood on the stage and said, "Honored guests, welcome to the small trade fair that I, Okuda-ba, am holding tonight. Let's skip the small talk and get straight to the point. Let's start today's trade." Lin Yi estimated that there were about 300 people in the banquet hall, and while one jade card could allow 2 people to enter, most of them came alone. After all, they were all people with high statuses, and it wasn't appropriate for them to have followers. Other than the few people who came with Okuda-ba and gave out their cards, Okuda-ba would be able to earn 2 to 3 million spirit jades just from the entrance fee alone. What a good business mind he had. On the stage, Okuda-ba's face was also red. He seemed to be in a good mood. He took out a jade box and said, "Next, I'll start by taking out something to warm everyone up. It's not good. Please don't laugh at me. Captain Okuda is too modest. How could something you take out be bad? Hurry up and show it to us." Someone shouted. Who knew if it was someone Okuda-ba arranged to hype up the atmosphere for the trade? Anyway, Lin Yi didn't know this person. Okuda-ba smiled and nodded at the man. He casually opened the jade box and said, "This is a 1,000-year-old truth recovery grass. It can be used to refine the truth recovery pill. Everyone knows that the truth recovery pill is a pill used by cultivators in the mountain opening stage to recover their true chi. Although it's not considered precious, it's still a mystic level 1 pill. For a cultivator in the early mountain opening stage, a low-grade truth recovery pill can basically recover all of their true chi in an instant. In a battle, this pill can save lives." There were already some people below. Although there weren't many mountain opening stage cultivators here, it didn't mean that they didn't have any backers. Truth recovery grass was an important strategic resource for mountain opening stage cultivators. It wasn't a small thing like Okuda-ba said. It was definitely a good thing. As an item to attract jade, I don't have to specify what I want to trade for this 1,000-year truth recovery grass. As long as it's about the same, it's fine. Of course, you can also use spiritual jades to buy it. Okuda-ba smiled and looked around at the people around him. He took out the truth recovery grass to boost the atmosphere. Otherwise, this thing would be useful to him, and he wouldn't have taken it out to sell. "Captain Okuda, how many spiritual jades are you planning to sell this truth recovery grass for?" There were already people who couldn't help but start asking. Those who went to the extreme North Islands auction didn't lack spiritual jades. As for good things, they wouldn't take them out if they could. To them, spiritual jades were the most useless thing. Okuda-ba smiled and said, "I won't name a price. Everyone, just take a look and see if it's about the same as the market price." Everyone cursed him in their hearts. What's about the same as the market price? Could the market price of the extreme North Island be the same as the market price of the extreme North Island? Moreover, there were definitely more than 1 or 2 people who wanted the truth recovery grass. He was clearly trying to get people to bid, and the highest bidder would get it. However, Okudaba's move was indeed the best way to stir up the atmosphere. As long as he could sell this truth recovery grass for a high price, the atmosphere would be set. If it wasn't something good, no one would dare to take it out. I bid 1 million spiritual jades. The person who asked just now didn't waste any more time and directly bid 1 million spiritual jades. Okudaba just smiled and didn't say anything. 1 million spiritual jades was indeed the market price, but it was only the market price of the extreme North Island. However, it was basically impossible to buy the 1,000-year truth recovery grass with this price. Okudaba wasn't in a hurry. This was just the beginning, and he believed that there would be new bids soon. I bid 2 million spiritual jades. Another person made a bid, directly doubling the price. Unfortunately, this price was still on the low side. If the 1,000-year truth recovery grass was taken to an auction, it could be sold for at least 4 million spirit jades. Now that they were on the way to the extreme North Island, no one believed that a mere 2 million spirit jades could buy the 1,000-year truth recovery grass. Just now, Okudaba had only said that the low-grade truth recovery pill could instantly recover the chi of the early stage of the mountain opening realm. In fact, the high-grade truth recovery pill could also recover the injuries of the user, and it was also instantaneous. Otherwise, there were other pills that could recover chi, and the truth recovery grass wouldn't be so sought after. The most valuable thing about it was the word instantaneous. In the midst of an intense battle, what was the difference between this and having an extra life? A mountain opening realm giant was a peak existence to any force. If it could give them an extra life, what was a mere spiritual jades? In just 4 rounds of bidding, the 1,000-year truth recovery grass had already reached a sky-high price of 5 million spiritual jades. However, this was still within the normal price range, and Okudaba wasn't satisfied either. However, at this point, the bidding became more cautious. There were almost no increments of 1 or 2 million spiritual jades. They were all increments of 1 or 200,000 spiritual jades. In the end, the 1,000-year truth recovery grass was sold for a price of 8,300,000 spiritual jades. If it was a truth recovery pill, breaking through 10 million would be a piece of cake. Unfortunately, this was only a truth recovery grass. If he wanted to refine it into a pill, he would need to find a high-level alchemist. There weren't many alchemists who could refine a mystic-level first-grade alchemist in the 3 islands. He felt that it was a pity. He really wanted this truth recovery grass. Although he didn't have the pill recipe for the truth recovery pill, this pill recipe wasn't something that could be obtained easily. With the Shinnon cauldron, refining it into a pill wouldn't be a problem at all. Chapter 58-61. With Okuda Dam's good start, the second person immediately went on stage. He also took out a mystic level 1 pill's main ingredient, but he didn't want any spiritual jades. He only wanted to trade for one thing, but there was nothing he wanted. Or maybe there was something he wanted, but no one was willing to trade for it. In the end, he could only cancel his bid. The next 3 people all succeeded, either by trading or selling. In any case, the process was very smooth, not affected by the second person's failure. Linny looked on with interest, but didn't make a move. It wasn't that he didn't want those things, but he didn't have anything suitable to trade for them. The next person to go on stage was Shangwani. He didn't take out anything, but directly posted a request. I need a young pole grass. As long as you have it, I'm willing to buy it for 10 million spiritual jades. Or, if you want something in exchange, we can discuss it. I'll do my best to satisfy your needs. The audience began to whisper amongst themselves. The young pole grass was indeed precious, but 10 million spirit jades was already 10 times the auction price of the Yangpole grass. This was completely different from the Truth Restoration grass. Whether it was in terms of grade or value, the difference was huge. Furthermore, the usage of the Yangpole grass was very limited. If anyone had it, they would definitely take it out without hesitation. Not to mention, Shangwani had also said that he would consider exchanging something they wanted for the Yangpole grass. This was simply too tempting. Unfortunately, no one present had the Yangpole grass on them. The Zheng family sneered in the corner. If Yangpole grass was so easy to get, it wouldn't have been used as a tool to trap Kai Zhongyang. So no matter how high Shangwani's price was, they wouldn't be worried. Shangwani looked back and forth a few times, the disappointment in his eyes growing. This was his last attempt. It seemed like there was no hope of getting the Yangpole grass. In the end, he could only shake his head and leave the stage. He didn't take out any more items to trade. Kai Zhongyang also felt a little sad in his heart. However, he was still rather satisfied that Shangwani was willing to offer such a high price to purchase the Yangji grass. At least he did not save the wrong person. From now on, he could only do his best. After that, they made a few more trades. The items were not bad, but Lin Yi was not interested. He began to wonder if he should go up and ask if there were any ghost cicada wings. If there were, he could trade or buy them. Before he could think about it, something that piqued his interest appeared on it. Moreover, Lin Yi happened to have what that person wanted. Everyone, this is a storage bag that has been passed down from ancient times. The space inside isn't big, but it's not small either. It can fit a dining table. If you carry it around, it's very convenient to store some things. Weapons can be stored inside. It's very convenient. I only want to trade it for 2 mountain gazing pills. If there's only one, it must be of high quality and above. Also, you have to compensate me with 3 million spirit jades. Lin Yi looked at the storage bag with interest. It looked similar to the ones he saw in the ancient small underworld. However, in terms of space, it was not as good as those in the ancient small underworld. Speaking of which, when he left the ancient small underworld, he should have brought 2 back. Anyway, the Blue Cloud sect was already the leader of the 4 big sections. They could use the Alliance's items. When he returned, he could give it to Han Jingjing for research. Perhaps she could mass-produce it. Although Lin Yi had the space in the jade pendant, it was much more convenient to have this storage bag. At least, when facing people stronger than him, he didn't have to worry about taking things out of the space in the jade pendant. It's actually a storage bag. I've only heard of it, but I've never seen it before. I didn't expect to see it for real this time. Just exchanging for 2 mountain gazing pills seems to be a bit of a loss, right? Some people started to discuss below. 2 mountain gazing pills for a storage pouch seemed to be a very cheap deal. Although mountain gazing pills weren't something that could be obtained easily compared to the storage bags that had been passed down from ancient times, it was on a completely different level. Didn't you hear him say that the space is only the size of a dining table? It can only store some personal items. Its value isn't as high as you think. Another person retorted, if it was a storage bag with a large space, its value would be immeasurable. It was precisely because the space wasn't big that the person said that he wanted to exchange for 2 mountain gazing pills. No matter what others said, Lin Yi was prepared to take this storage bag. He didn't lack mountain gazing pills, and exchanging for this storage bag would be of great help to him. Even if he gave it to Han Jingjing for research in the future, it would be worth it. After making his decision, Lin Yi didn't wait any longer. He casually took out a jade bottle and a green spirit jade card. He went on stage and said, I have a mountain gazing pill here to exchange for your storage bag. As for spirit jades, I can only give you 500,000. You decide if you want to exchange for it or not. The person opened the jade bottle and took a look. He immediately closed the bottle and handed the storage bag to Lin Yi and said, "Deal." The mountain-gazing pill that Lin Yi refined was of special quality. Its effect was much better than the high-quality mountain-gazing pill, and it was 2 or 3 times better than the medium-quality mountain-gazing pill. Even if Lin Yi didn't add spirit jades, this guy would still agree to exchange. Anyway, this storage bag was of little value to him. It was convenient to carry things, but how could it be more important than advancing to the magnate realm? Zheng Dongsheng and Zheng Dongjue looked at each other in surprise. They were thinking about how to confirm that Lin Yi had the mountain-gazing pill. They didn't expect that someone would exchange for his mountain-gazing pill with a storage bag. In this way, they could basically confirm that Hou Guanqi had given the mountain-gazing pill to Lin Yi. After Kai Zhongyang, the time to deal with Hou Guanqi was almost ripe. When they returned to Middle Island, they could start to chase Hou Guanqi out of the alchemy hall. Lin Yi didn't know that his mountain-gazing pill would cause trouble for Hou Guanqi. He was satisfied and tried to use the storage bag. The space inside was really not big, only a little more than 2 cubic meters. If it was used to store spirit herbs and pills, it could store a lot of them. However, he only wanted the storage bag as a cover. The real important things should be stored in the space of the jade pendant. Chapter 58-62. Lin Yi was inspired by Li Zhaoyi to trade for pills. He didn't want to be so high profile, but everyone on the ancient warship probably knew that he refined yin and yang pill alone to save Shangwani, so he just openly admitted his identity as a mystic level 1 alchemist. At least it was better than exchanging spirit-tempering pill or mountain-gazing pill. Master Lin, although I don't have the ghost cicada wings, I have other materials. Spirit jades are fine too. Can I ask you to help me refine pills? The person who bought the Millennium Truth Recovery Grass couldn't help but ask. It was not easy to meet a mystic level 1 alchemist. Although there were 2 on the ship, they wouldn't easily help. For example, Li Zhaoyi's opportunity to help was reserved for the auction on the extreme North Island. She definitely wouldn't help anyone now. Moreover, Lin Yi's alchemy ability had already been proven. Li Zhaoyi couldn't refine yin and yang pill alone, but Lin Yi could. Who was better? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He didn't expect this to happen. Thinking about it carefully, it was a good business. Helping people refine pills could not only get the recipe, but also get extra pills. It was a profitable business, even more profitable than the Central Chamber of Commerce selling junk. Asking an alchemist to help usually required one's own recipe, and 2 sets of materials were required. Of course, it couldn't be helped if they could only prepare 1 set if they were too precious. However, the reward was something of similar value. Lin Yi was very interested in the Truth Recovery Pills recipe and pills, so when the person asked, he really couldn't refuse. Well, we can talk about this in private later. Although I will help people refine pills, it depends on the situation. When things are done here, you can come to my room and talk. Lin Yi thought about it and didn't refuse the benefits that came to him. But the most important thing now was to get the ghost cicada wings. If he could refine the ghost speed wings, his strength would go to another level. Thank you, Master Lin. I will definitely visit you with sincerity. That person was very happy, as if he had not expected things to go so smoothly. Being able to refine the Truth Recovery Grass into the Truth Recovery Pill was the most important step. The eyes of several people below the stage also shone. They had already begun to plan. When the matter here was over, they would go to Lin Yi as soon as possible and ask him to help with alchemy. This kind of high-level alchemist had a limited number of times. If they were late, they would not have the chance. On the other side, Li Zhaoyi frowned slightly. Obviously, She did not expect Lin Yi to take out the opportunity to refine elixirs to trade. She knew that she needed to rest for a long time after refining elixirs. How long had it been since Lin Yi refined the yin and yang elixir? If Li Xiaoyi knew that Lin Yi had to refine at least 7 or 8 batches of elixirs a day, and each batch was made with several sets of materials, what would she think? Lin Yi waited on the stage for a while, but no one came up to trade with him. Obviously, the refining of the ghost speed wings had to continue to be delayed. The ghost cicada wings were extremely rare, perhaps as rare as the Yangpole grass. In desperation, Lin Yi could only step down from the stage. However, wherever he passed, most people were friendly and even a little fawning and nodded at him. The status of a profound level 1 alchemist was far higher than Lin Yi had imagined. The following items were still various, but Lin Yi did not pay much attention to them. If they were not what he needed, they could not arouse his interest. In the end, he only used a Thunder Xian pill to exchange for a few yellow level 7 elixir recipes. At least it was a harvest. When the trade fair ended, it was already noon of the next day. Although he did not get the ghost cicada wings, he exchanged for a storage bag and a few elixir recipes. Lin Yi was satisfied. Moreover, there would be people coming to ask him to refine elixirs, so there would be even more benefits. Hou Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and the others also had their own gains. Even Wei Shenjin had exchanged for an item that he liked. The few of them chatted and laughed as they returned to the door of the room and went back to their own rooms to cultivate. They knew that Lin Yi was going to have guests, and so they didn't want to disturb him. Sure enough, a few minutes after returning, the person who bought the Truth Recovery grass hurried over. "Master Lin, I took the liberty to visit you. Did I disturb your rest?" This middle-aged man looked elegant and very respectfully greeted Lin Yi with cupped fists. He was the kind of person who could easily get a good impression from others. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. After letting him in, he said, "You haven't asked?" "I was negligent and forgot to introduce myself. I am really sorry. I am the Thousand Blades faction's deputy, sect, master, samurai. Greetings, Master Lin." Samurai once again cupped his fists and said very modestly, "So it is the Thousand Blades faction's deputy sect, Master Ling. It's an honor to meet you," Lin Yi said casually. In fact, he had not heard of samurai before. But when he heard the Thousand Blades faction, he thought of the Thousand Blades faction in the immemorial underworld. He did not know if Ling Tianyu and this samurai were related by blood. It was just that after so many years, even if they were of the same bloodline, it was probably very thin. In any case, this person might be Ling Tianyu's relative, so Lin Yi's favorable impression of him became a bit better. After exchanging a few polite words with Lin Yi, Samurai turned to the main topic and said, "Master Lin, should be clear that I came to find Master Lin in order to refine the true restoration pill. However, this pill is not very urgent, so Master Lin can wait until it is convenient for you to refine it." Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "It doesn't matter when you refine it, but I don't have the pill recipe for the true restoration pill. If you want me to refine it, you must give me the pill recipe." "This is not a problem. I have the pill recipe for the true restoration pill." Samurai quickly took out a copy of the pill recipe and presented it to Lin Yi with both hands and said, "Master Lin, please take a look. This is the pill recipe. In addition, I have also prepared the other ingredients for the true restoration pill." After Lin Yi received the pill recipe, Samurai took out a jade box that was slightly bigger than 2 palms and opened it on the tea table. Inside the box, there were small compartments with spiritual herbs placed inside. Among them was the true restoration grass worth more than 8 million spiritual jades. "Master Lin, The true restoration grass is very rare, so I can only prepare one. As for the reward, I don't know what Master Lin wants. Samurai asked with some apprehension. Even if Lin Yi wanted a spiritual herb of the same rank as the true restoration grass, he didn't have it on hand. It would be best if he asked for spiritual jades. 10 million spiritual jades was nothing to him. Chapter 58, 63. Although there was only one truth recovery grass, it could barely be considered as two materials because most alchemists used the whole plant. Even if there was extra, it would be a waste. Therefore, one plant was considered as one material. Lin Yi's Shinnon cauldron was different. Because it could be purified perfectly, there would be almost no waste. This truth recovery pill could probably be refined into 2 pills. After knowing what to do, Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "The reward depends on what you are willing to take out. It would be best if you have the same level of spirit grass. If not, you can exchange it with some higher level pill recipes. If not, you can use spiritual jades. Anyway, with a truth recovery pill as a base, Lin Yi would not suffer a loss. Therefore, he did not care much about other rewards. He would take whatever he had and was not picky. Samurai secretly gave Lin Yi a thumbs up. He thought that Master Lin was really good and easy to talk to. Although there was no spirit grass, he could not let others suffer too much. "Master Lin, how about this? I have 3 pill recipes here. 2 are yellow level 7 and 1 is mystic level 1. I will give them to Master Lin. In addition, I will take out 5 million spiritual jades as your alchemy fee. Is that okay?" Samurai asked carefully. This price was very high, but it was nothing compared to the truth recovery pill. Therefore, he was also worried that Lin Yi would not be satisfied. Who knew that Lin Yi was secretly speechless at this time. He did not expect that helping others to refine pills could be so profitable. Thinking back to the last time, 100 foundation establishment stage pills were sold for 1 million spiritual jades. The difference in level was huge, and the price difference was even more sky-high. "Yes, you can leave the things here and come back tomorrow to get the pills." Lin Yi's face was calm, but he was secretly excited. If he could take on more alchemy business, he might not need to refine the spirit-tempering pill when he reached the extreme North Island. He would have enough spiritual jades to buy the spirit-gathering branch and soul wood. "Yes, then I will not disturb Master Lin." Samurai was also very happy. He left the things and left. On this ancient warship, he was not worried that Lin Yi would run away with the things, so he even gave Lin Yi the reward. "This guy is not bad. We can cooperate more in the future." Lin Yi smiled and whispered to himself. Then another person came to ask for alchemy, but this time he only wanted a Huang level 7 pill, and the cost of concocting the pill directly became 200,000 spirit jades. Adding on a Huang level 7 pill recipe, it could be seen from this point that the difference between a Huang level 7 pill and a mystic level 1 pill was like the difference between clouds and mud. If it was not for the fact that he did not have the recipe, Lin Yi did not want to accept this alchemy business. Then, a few more waves of people came to visit. Without exception, they all asked Lin Yi to refine yellow level 7 pills. Unfortunately, they all needed pills that Lin Yi had the recipe for. This time, Lin Yi really did not have any interest, with the excuse that he had already agreed to refine pills for others, so he could not accept any more requests in the short term. Lin Yi hung up the Do Not Disturb sign and began to close the door. Thinking about it carefully, Lin Yi suddenly realized that he had made a mistake. Looking at the cost of those level 7 pills, it was actually not much. It could not be compared to the value of the ghost cicada wings. In other words, the ghost cicada wings that Lin Yi thought he could use to refine pills were very likely not taken out because the level of the pill was not high. Even if someone had it, they did not take it out because the value was not equal. After thinking about this, he was a little annoyed. Although he did say that those who did not want to refine pills could ask for other conditions, such empty words could not be believed. If it was exposed, he might be robbed in the future. In any case, this trade fair was over. If he wanted to continue looking for the ghost cicada wings, he had to rely on the auction in the extreme north. Before that, He felt that he should focus on earning enough spirit jades. Then, when he participated in the auction, he would have more confidence. He did not have to use good things like spirit tempering pills to exchange. These things were not enough. There were so many subordinates and confidants waiting. After he closed the door and set up the restriction, he began to refine pills. He first completed the yellow level 7 pill that he had been entrusted with. Then he started to refine the truth recovery pill. It was not his first time refining a mystic level 1 pill, so the success rate was still guaranteed. However, there was only one truth recovery grass, so he did not dare to be too careless. Every step was very cautious. After generating the alchemy script, the automatic alchemy system estimated that he could produce 2 pills. This made very satisfied with his ability to estimate. It seemed that after refining many pills, at least in terms of eyesight, the improvement was very obvious. After choosing the alchemy method, he began to calm his mind and concentrate on refining the truth recovery pill. This time, the refining time was relatively long. It took more than 4 hours to successfully refine. The sky outside was probably already dark. I can produce 2 special quality truth recovery pills on my first time refining. My luck is not bad. He happily kept the 2 truth recovery pills. In half a day, he had earned a large amount of spirit jades. It was impossible not to be happy. In fact, normally the truth recovery pill was not too useful for After all, he had the support of the endless spirit chi in the space of the jade pendant. In ordinary battles, he was not afraid of the consumption of true chi. Therefore, the truth recovery pill, which was comparable to a life for ordinary mountain opening stage giants, was much less important to him. However, the most precious characteristic of the truth recovery pill was instant recovery. Even the space of the jade pendant could not instantly recover Yi's true chi. From this point of view, Yi felt that it was still very necessary to carry a truth recovery pill with him. Maybe there would be a situation where the space of the jade pendant could not be replenished in time. Seeing that the ghost was still in closed-door cultivation, Yi did not disturb him. He took out a piece of spiritual sense grass root and prepared to continue refining the spirit-quenching pill. He had already felt that the more pills he refined, the stronger his ability in alchemy. Although he still could not refine pills without the Shinnon cauldron or the automatic alchemy system, the success rate and quality of the pills refined with the Shinnon cauldron were stable at an extremely high level. For example, the truth recovery pill, this kind of profound level 1 pill, before he could not guarantee that the first refining would be successful. It was already good to have a 50% success rate, and the quality could not be guaranteed. But now it was different. Before refining, he was sure that he would succeed, and the quality would definitely not be lower than superior. This was the confidence brought by continuous alchemy. Chapter 58, 64. Yi's expression changed slightly. This kind of situation had never happened before. The ancient warship was absolutely stable when it was sailing, coupled with the protection of the defensive layer. Even if it hit some small reef groups, the people on the ship wouldn't feel anything. Now that he could feel the vibration in the room, something serious must have happened outside. The first thing he thought of was the sea beast tide attack launched by the sea dragon last time. Is it happening again this time? Lin Yi quickly put away the Shinnon cauldron, got up and walked out. Because the space in the jade pendant didn't give any warning, Lin Yi wasn't worried about too much danger. However, his relationship with Okuda Dam was still there. If something happened to the ancient warship, he must go and see if he could help. The vibration wasn't the only one. In the short time that Lin Yi went out, there were two more slight vibrations. So when he went out of the door, the people next to him also ran out at almost the same time. Obviously, everyone knew that something had happened. Now was the time to help each other. No one could stay out of it. Boss, what happened? Wei Xinjin saw Lin Yi as soon as he went out, so he immediately asked. Lin Yi nodded at Hong Zhong, Ho Guanqi, and the others and replied, I'm not sure yet. If there was an enemy attack, there should be an alarm. Now, there is no alarm, so it's not easy to say. Let's go and see the situation first. Everyone didn't know what happened, so they could only run to the deck with Lin Yi. When they arrived on the deck, there were already more than 10 people who came out. This reaction speed was even faster than Lin Yi and the others. Lin Yi didn't find Okuda Dam with his divine sense. After all, there were too many places on the ancient warship that could block divine sense. Lin Yi, as the captain, was probably commanding the situation on the bridge. Boss, look, there seems to be two sea beasts fighting. The aftermath affected us, causing the ancient warship to shake. Wei Xinjin pointed to the distance and exclaimed in a low voice. This was the first time he saw such powerful sea beasts. Just the aftermath of the battle could shake the ancient warship. If it was a frontal attack, how terrifying would it be? I saw it. You guys wait here. I'll go ask Captain Okuda about the situation. Lin Yi frowned slightly. After saying a few words to the people around him, he turned around and ran toward the bridge. As the honorary vice captain of this ancient warship, he naturally had the right to enter the bridge when there was a crisis. However, it was not convenient to bring other people over unless they were personally invited by Captain Okuda. Actually, as long as the battle between the two sea beasts did not directly attack the ancient era's warship, it would have nothing to do with them. Once the victor was determined, the two sea beasts would most likely not provoke the ancient era's warship. Now, because the battlefield of these two sea beasts happened to be on the sailing route of the fleet, if they wanted to take a detour, they would deviate from the safe sailing route and enter the dangerous sea. Normally, navigators would not do such a thing. If that was the case, there was nothing for Lin Yi to worry about. At most, he would just have to wait for a while. If he didn't want to wait, with the power of the ancient era's warship, it would not be a problem to directly go over and start the battle. However, the problem now was that Lin Yi could faintly feel that Languza might be one of the two sea beasts fighting. After this guy left Middle Island, there had been no news of him. Lin Yi also did not take the initiative to contact him using the communication pearl. However, he also believed that Languza would not be too far away from the ancient era's warship. If he calculated the distance, the place where the battle was happening should be about the same. Vice Captain Lin. Vice Captain Lin. After Lin Yi entered the bridge, the people who saw him took the initiative to greet him. Last time, if it was not for him controlling the Starfall formation and injuring the Sea Dragon, the ancient era's warship might have sunk to the bottom of the sea. Therefore, the people here sincerely respected Lin Yi. Lin Yi reluctantly suppressed the worry in his heart. He smiled and nodded at them as a greeting. His feet quickly walked towards Okuda. Brother Lin, you're here. It's okay. It's just two sea beasts fighting. It won't affect us. Previously, because the defensive layer was activated to block the wind and waves, we were shaken by the aftermath of their battle. Now that the strength of the defensive layer has been increased, we won't feel it anymore. Okuda smiled and waved at Lin Yi. After seeing the sea dragon, He did not care about this kind of small battle at all. Moreover, it was not a battle against the ancient era's warship. Lin-Yi was not in the mood to say much. He came to Okuda-ba and asked directly, "Brother Okuda, is there any surveillance footage that can show the battle clearly?" If it was really Languza fighting there, Lin-Yi would help no matter what. However, on the ancient era's warship, although his divine sense could extend over, it would be weakened by the defensive layer. In addition, the fluctuations of the battle were intense. Lin-Yi was not confident that he could get an accurate and clear picture. Therefore, he came to the bridge to see the surveillance footage. Okuda-ba did not think much about it. He only thought that Lin-Yi was curious about the scene of the sea beasts fighting. Therefore, he smiled and said, "Of course there is. You have a good eye. One of the sea beasts is in the mountain opening stage. Although the other one has not reached the mountain opening stage, its combat power is not weaker than that of the mountain opening stage. It is still very interesting." As he spoke, Okuda-ba quickly controlled the surveillance formation and then projected an image generated by the surveillance formation in front of him. This method was much more sophisticated than the technological surveillance in the secular world. However, it was slightly weaker in terms of distance. After all, the secular world could still be monitored through satellites, but the surveillance formation on the ancient era's warship could only cover 1,000 miles of sea at most. Lin-Yi looked at the image. There were two sea beasts in battle. One was a huge octopus-like, multi-legged, soft-bodied sea beast, and the other was a blue sea dragon. It was that Languza bastard. Okuda-ba praised, "Brother Lin, look, it's actually a sea dragon. Last time we encountered a sea dragon. I didn't expect to see another sea dragon today. Although it's weak, it has a chance to evolve into a sea dragon. No wonder it can fight against a mountain opening stage sea beast with the strength of a mysterious ascending stage." Lin-Yi breathed out a sigh of relief. Just as Okuda-ba had said, Languza might still be in the ascending stage, but he wasn't at a disadvantage against the giant octopus at the early stage of the mountain opening stage. As expected of a mutated sea serpent, its strength was unparalleled. Chapter 58, 65. This kind of battle was a rare experience for Languza. If Lin-Yi interfered, it wouldn't benefit him at all. Only through constant tough battles could he obtain the opportunity to evolve. "Brother Okuda, who do you think will win?" Lin-Yi asked, pretending to be chatting casually. Okuda laughed and said, "That's hard to say. Although the sea serpent is strong, it's only at the profound ascension stage. It's still a long way from reaching the peak stage. As for the octopus, it's a solid early mountain opening stage. If it wasn't for the sea serpent's king aura suppressing part of the octopus's strength, it would have been killed by the octopus. In my opinion, it's more likely that both sides will suffer." "Both sides suffer?" "That might not be the case." Lin-Yi smiled faintly. He was very confident in Languza. "It's just a battle between realms. It's not difficult. Brother Lin, are you interested in these two sea monsters? If you want to capture or kill them, just say the word." Okuda waved his hand. With the strength of the ancient warship, dealing with two mountain opening stage sea monsters was easy, not to mention that the sea serpent wasn't even at the mountain opening stage yet. Lin-Yi smiled and said, "I'm interested in that sea serpent, but I don't need Brother Okuda's help. I'll fly over to take a look later. If possible, I'll form a good relationship with the sea serpent. At that time, Brother Okuda just needs to open the defensive layer and let me out." Okuda was slightly startled. "Brother Lin, with your strength, riding a flying spirit beast won't be too dangerous. But with the ancient warship, why take the risk?" "Brother Okuda, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Right? Lend me one of the flying spirit beasts on the ship. Wait for my signal and open the defensive layer." Lin-Yi did not explain much. This was a good opportunity for Languza to appear. In addition, he also wanted to watch Languza closely, lest this guy really perish together with the octopus. Seeing that Lin Yi was so insistent, Okuda-ba didn't say anything else. He nodded and said, "In that case, Brother Lin, you should be careful. I will prepare the Starfall Array. If any sea beast dares to attack you, we will kill it." Linny broke out in a cold sweat and said, "Brother Okuda, let's forget about the Starfall Array. It's too powerful and consumes too much energy. An ordinary offensive array will do." With Okuda-ba's rough control, Lin-Yi was very worried that the Starfall Array would accidentally land on his head before it could kill the sea beast. That would be too unfair. So, for safety's sake, it was better to let Okuda-ba give up on this idea. "You're right, the Starfall Array is my trump card. I can't use it easily. Forget it, just be careful. I will support you at any time." Okuda-ba smiled and patted Lin Yi's shoulder. He then turned around and asked someone to prepare a flying spirit beast for Lin Yi. Lin Yi thanked him and immediately left the bridge. He returned to the deck and waited for the flying spirit beast to arrive. At this time, Samurai quickly walked over and cupped his fists. "Master Lin, did those two sea beasts affect you?" Lin Yi had spent a lot of money to buy the Truth Recovery Grass. Spirit Jades were secondary, but the Truth Recovery Pill couldn't have any problems. It was related to the safety of the person behind him. So, when he saw Lin Yi come out, Samurai was naturally a little worried. Lin Yi originally said that he would give him the pill tomorrow. It wasn't appropriate to take it out now. So, he casually smiled and said, "It's all right. Don't worry, just come back tomorrow." Vice Sect Leader Ling, did you really ask this guy to refine the Truth Recovery Pill? Then you have to be mentally prepared. I don't think you can get your Truth Recovery Grass back. Zhang Dongjue suddenly interjected with a sneer. He had a worried expression on his face, as though he was acting the truth. Samurai's face slightly sank. He coldly said, "Vice Hull Leader Zhang, what do you mean by that? Are you trying to sow discord between me and Master Lin?" Zhang Tianqing, who was next to Zhang Dongjue, stared at Samurai disdainfully and said, "A dog bites Lu Dongbin. You don't know how to appreciate good intentions. You are a country bumpkin. You are really stupid and pitiful. Don't you know that if you ask an alchemist to refine a pill, the alchemist will not bear any responsibility if it fails? So what?" Samurai didn't want to pay attention to Zhang Tianqing, but he still wanted to hear what he had to say. So he subconsciously asked, "As for asking an alchemist to refine a pill, if it failed, it was equivalent to getting nothing." As the vice sect leader of the Thousand Blades sect, of course, he was clear about this. This was also the rule of the alchemist industry. Otherwise, if the alchemist failed, he would have to pay for it out of his own pocket. Then, who the hell would refine a pill for you? A country bumpkin is a country bumpkin. You still ask, so what? Zhang Tianqing looked at Ling Wuzong with pity in his eyes, as if talking to him was a great charity. "I'll teach you a lesson today. An alchemist's alchemy isn't as simple as you think. Under normal circumstances, after refining a pill, you need to rest for a period of time. The length of this period is determined by the grade of the pill you're refining. For example, for a Huang Level 7 pill, you need to rest for at least 10 days to half a month after refining. Do you understand what I mean?" Ling Wuzong was slightly taken aback. He wasn't an alchemist, so he really didn't know what was going on. Those alchemists who concocted pills for others usually wouldn't say such things out loud. However, it was true that alchemists of the 6th or 7th level would only accept a commission every 10 days to half a month. Ling Wuzong was aware of this. Thinking about how Lin Yi had just refined the yin and yang pill before, how long had it been? But he said that he could successfully refine the pill tomorrow. When Samurai thought of this, he couldn't help but feel a little flustered. Zheng Dongzhe laughed. Vice Master Ling, we're thinking for your sake. You asked Lin Yi to concoct the elixir, but he clearly just concocted the yin yang pill. He won't be able to concoct any more in the near future. If he promised you that he would be able to concoct the elixir in 2 days, he'll most likely take your grass of recovery. I advise you to get the grass back. Zheng Tianqing also said, our Dan Hall's masterly Zeos alchemy level is much better than this guy's. After refining a pill, he also needs to rest for many days. Do you really think that this guy is better than Masterly Zeo? Chapter 58, 66. Any sect that wasn't part of the 10 small sects would give it their all as long as they got the reserve qualification, regardless of whether they had the ability or not. What if they succeeded? All right, Tyrant Blade Sect's challenge to High Feather Sect will begin immediately. You all know the rules, right? The great elder of the ruined town nodded and continued, I will repeat the rules again. The rest of you, listen up. The rules of the 10 small sects challenge this time are the same as before. There will still be 3 matches. Nascent Soul, Golden Core, and Foundation Establishment will each have 1 match. 2 wins out of 3 matches. If the challenge is successful, the challenger will advance to the 10 small sects, and the challenged will be the last reserve. If the first 4 challenges are successful, they will still have the chance to challenge the 10 small sects again. They can also choose to give up. The second reserve will advance to the first reserve and continue to have the right to challenge the 10 small sections. They can also challenge those who have just advanced. If they fail, the order will not change. The second reserve will not have the right to challenge the 10 small sects unless they choose to gamble. You all understand? The great elder of the ruined town explained the rules unhurriedly. In fact, everyone knew that it was just a formality. Wei Yidao cupped his fists respectfully and bowed. Thank you for your explanation, Elder. We all understand. Tyrant Blade Sect's first Foundation establishment battle will be fought by us juniors. The great elder of Ruins Town made a sound of acknowledgement, then turned to the Xuanyu School's side and said, who will be participating in the Xuanyu School's Foundation establishment competition? Come up the stage immediately. I'll do it. A Foundation Establishment Perfection disciple stood up from High Feather Sect's camp and walked up the stage with an imposing manner. High Feather Sect's Yu Lingfeng is here to accept the challenge. Yu Lingfeng said expressionlessly. His eyes revealed traces of anger. Although the High Feather School was one of the weaker sects among the 10 minor sects, they were not the weakest of the 10 minor sects. The Tyrant Blade School had chosen the High Feather School right from the start. They had really underestimated the High Feather School. It would be strange if Yu Lingfeng treated Wei Yidao well. Wei Yidao shrugged and laughed strangely. What an imposing manner. I wonder what will happen when they fight. Hopefully, they aren't just paper tigers. Tyrant Blade Sect's Wei Yidao. Before his voice faded away, Wei Yidao pulled out his thick-backed long saber with a shake of his hand and swung it toward Yu Lingfeng's body. The great elder of the Ruins Town raised his eyebrows slightly. He had not announced the start of the fight, but Wei Yidao had already made the first move. Strictly speaking, this was against the rules. However, the great elder of the Ruins Town was originally a member of the Qinquan sect, and the Tyrant Blade School was a branch of the Qinquan sect. Of course, he would ignore such a small detail if he could. Yu Lingfeng narrowed his eyes. Even though he didn't expect Wei Yidao to suddenly attack, he didn't panic in the slightest. With a light tap of his foot, he flew into the air. At the same time, he raised his hands, and dozens of steel short feathers shot out. Wei Yidao's long saber moved horizontally and horizontally, The momentum of the saber was fierce and tyrannical. It was worthy of the name tyrannical. Before Yu Lingfeng's steel short feathers could get close, they were engulfed by the momentum of Wei Yidao's saber and completely lost their accuracy. Petty tricks. Is this all the Xianyu school can do? Wei Yidao laughed crazily as he stepped forward. The momentum of his saber increased once again. The steel short feathers that were engulfed by the saber all fell to the ground. They didn't even have the ability to stop Wei Yidao. However, Yu Lingfeng, who was in the air, didn't show any signs of panic. Instead, there was a faint mocking smile on his face. With a shake of his hands, his body, which had already started to fall, suddenly rose again. It was as if he had a pair of invisible wings on his back. Light feather arrow. Yu Lingfeng ignored Wei Yidao's provocation. He only let out a low roar, and the true energy in his body surged. The steel short feathers that had been engulfed by Wei Yidao's saber actually flew back to Wei Yidao from the ground. Not only that, the steel short feathers that flew back gave off a faint white light. Whether it was speed or strength, they were more than twice as strong as before. In an instant, the steel short feathers were within half a foot of Wei Yidao's body. If there were no changes, Wei Yidao's body would immediately have dozens of bloody holes. Interesting. Facing this kind of danger, Wei Yidao actually laughed twice. The saber in his hand did not change direction, but his feet moved strangely a few times. With just a slight movement of his body, Yu Lingfeng's light feather arrow flew past Wei Yidao's body. The closest one even scratched Wei Yidao's clothes, leaving a small hole. However, it still didn't hurt Wei Yidao in the slightest. In the air, Yu Lingfeng's expression finally changed slightly. At this time, Wei Yidao's saber, which carried an unparalleled saber momentum, had already closed in on Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng could only shake his arms again and change his body in the air for the second time. This was already his limit. No matter how agile the Xianyu school's movement technique was, Yu Lingfeng was still only at the foundation establishment stage. If he still couldn't shake off Wei Yidao's pursuit, then he could only face Wei Yidao's saber head-on. In order to save his life, Yu Lingfeng yelled when he changed his body, "Turn!" The fine steel short feathers that flew past Wei Yidao immediately turned around nimbly like fish in water and shot towards Wei Yidao again. At such a close distance, Yu Lingfeng did not believe that Wei Yidao could use his footwork to dodge. Even if he could dodge, it would definitely affect the momentum of his blade. If that was the case, it would at least give Yu Lingfeng a chance to catch his breath. Wei Yidao laughed disdainfully and said, "Have you exhausted your limited abilities? Then there's nothing fun to do." As he spoke, the saber momentum didn't change. After a slight adjustment, it continued to chase after Yu Lingfeng. As for the fine steel short feathers that turned into light feather arrows, Wei Yidao didn't continue to use his footwork to dodge. Instead, he held the saber sheath in his left hand and used it as a saber to slash again. The ferocious saber momentum instantly split the air in front of Wei Yidao, emitting a violent sonic boom. The fine steel short feathers that were flying towards Yu Lingfeng were completely cut off by this saber. One by one, they bounced off to both sides. Some of them were even directly chopped into pieces by the saber momentum. Yu Lingfeng's expression finally changed completely. He thought that Wei Yidao's previous saber strike was the result of him going all out. He didn't expect that it was completely not the case. From this saber strike, it could be seen that Wei Yidao had held back a lot of strength. In other words, this saber strike that chased after Yu Lingfeng was just a casual strike from Wei Yidao. When did Wei Yidao of the Tyrant Saber sect become so powerful? With this kind of strength, even if he were to jump levels and deal with a weaker early-stage gold core cultivator, it wouldn't be a problem, right? These thoughts flashed through Yu Lingfeng's mind in a flash. Then, Wei Yidao's saber had already arrived in front of him. Chapter 58-67. With Ao Tianbia's good start, the second person immediately went up the stage. He took out the main herb of a mystic first-level elixir, but he didn't want the spiritual jade. He only wanted to exchange it for one thing. Unfortunately, there was nothing he wanted, or maybe there was something he wanted, but the others were not willing to exchange, so he could only cancel it in the end. The next 3 people had succeeded in succession, either exchanging or selling. In any case, the process was very smooth, and it was not affected by the second person's failure. Linny looked on with interest, not making a single move. It wasn't that he didn't want the items, but he didn't have anything suitable to exchange. Shang Wani went up next. He did not take out anything, but he posted a request for purchase. I need a stalk of young extreme grass. As long as you have it, I'm willing to pay 10 million spirit jade to buy it. Or we can discuss what you want to exchange for it. I'll do my best to satisfy your requests. The people below the stage began to discuss in low voices. The young extreme grass was indeed precious, but 10 million spirit jade was already several times, or even 10 times the auction price of the young extreme grass. This was completely different from the truth restoration grass. Whether it was in terms of grade or value, the difference was very large. Moreover, the scope of use was very small. If anyone had it, they would definitely take it out without hesitation. Moreover, Shang Wani had mentioned that he would consider using the items they wanted to exchange for it. This was simply a huge temptation. Unfortunately, none of the people present had the yang extreme grass on them. The Zheng family members sneered to themselves in the corner. If the yang extreme grass was so easy to obtain, it would not have been used as a tool to design Kai Zhongyang. Therefore, no matter how high Shang Wani's price was, they would not have anything to worry about. Shang Wani looked back and forth a few times, and the disappointment in his eyes grew. This was his last attempt, and it seemed like there was no hope of obtaining the yang extreme grass. In the end, he could only shake his head and leave the stage, not continuing to trade. Kai Zhongyang was also a little sad, but he was quite satisfied that Shang Wani was willing to offer such a sky-high price to buy the yang extreme grass. At least he did not save the wrong person. He could only do his best for the rest of the things. They made a few more deals after that, and the items weren't bad either, but he wasn't really interested. He started thinking if he should go up and ask if he had the ghost cicada wings. If he did, he could trade or buy them. Before he could decide, something interesting appeared on the list, and he happened to have what the person wanted. Everyone, this is a storage bag that has been passed down from ancient times. The space inside is neither big nor small. It is about the size of a dining table. If you carry it with you, it is very convenient to store some things such as weapons and so on. It is very convenient. I only want to exchange it for 2 mountain gaze pills. If there is only one, it must be of high quality or above, and you will have to compensate me with 3 million spiritual jades. He looked at the storage bag with interest. It looked similar to the one he saw in the ancient martial world, but it didn't have as much space as the one in the ancient martial world. Speaking of which, he should have taken 2 back when he left the ancient martial world. Since the Green Cloud sect was the leader of the 4 great sects, they could use the Alliance's items. He would let Han Jingjing study them and perhaps be able to mass-produce them. He had his own jade space, but this storage bag was a lot more convenient. At least he didn't have to worry about getting caught when he took things out of the jade space when he faced people stronger than him. It's actually a storage bag. I've only heard of it, but I've never seen it before. I didn't think I'd see it for real this time. Isn't it a bit of a loss to trade for only 2 mountain gaze pills? Some people began to discuss among themselves. 2 mountain gaze pills for a storage bag seemed to be very cheap. Although the mountain gaze pill wasn't something that could be easily obtained, it was on a completely different level compared to the storage bags that had been passed down from ancient times. Didn't you hear him say that the space is only as big as a dining table? It can only be used to store some personal items, and its value is not as high as you think. Another person retorted that if it was a storage bag with a large space, its value would be immeasurable. It was because the space was not large that people would not be too surprised if the man said he wanted to exchange it for 2 mountain gaze pills. And no matter what the others said, Lin Yi was ready to get this storage bag. He didn't lack mountain gaze pills, and this storage bag would be of great help to him. Even if he gave it to Han Jingjing to research in the future, it would be worth it. After making his decision, Lin Yi didn't wait any longer. He took out a jade bottle and a green spirit jade card and went up the stage. I have a mountain gaze pill here to exchange for your storage bag. However, I can only give you 500,000 spirit jades. You can decide if you want to exchange or not. The man opened the jade bottle and looked inside. He closed the bottle in surprise and handed the storage bag to Lin Yi. Deal. The mountain gaze pill that Lin Yi made was special grade and was much more effective than high-grade ones. It was even 2 to 3 times stronger than medium-grade ones. Even if Lin Yi didn't add spirit jade, this guy would agree to the exchange anyway. This storage bag was of little value to him. After all, it was convenient to bring things around. So how could it be more important than breaking through to the Titan tier? Zheng Dongsheng and Zheng Dongjue looked at each other in surprise. They were thinking about how to make sure that Lin Yi had the mountain gaze stone, but someone just exchanged a storage bag for his mountain gaze pill. Now, they could basically confirm that Ho Guanqi gave Lin Yi the mountain gaze stone he got from the pill hall. After Kai Zhongya, the time to deal with Ho Guanqi was almost ripe. When they returned to the middle island, they could start to chase Ho Guanqi out of the pill hall. Lin Yi didn't know that his mountain gaze pill would bring trouble to Ho Guanqi. He was trying out the storage bag with satisfaction. The space inside wasn't big, only a little over 2 cubic meters. If he used it to store herbs and pills, he could store a lot of them. However, he only needed the storage bag as a cover. The really important things were still safe in the jade space. Lin Yi didn't go down immediately since he was already on stage. He put the storage bag away and smiled at the crowd. I'm Lin Yi from the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. You may have heard of me before, or you may not know me, but that's not important. As long as you know that I'm a Mystic Class Level 1 refiner, that's enough. Next, I'll use my free alchemy opportunity to trade for a pair of ghost cicada wings. If any of you don't need me to refine pills, you can also state your conditions in exchange. Chapter 58, 68. Lin Yi only came up with the idea of using the refining opportunity to trade because of Li Zhaoyi's inspiration. He didn't want to be so high profile at first, but everyone on the ancient battleship probably knew that he made the yin and yang pill alone to save Shang Wani, so he might as well just admit that he was a mystic first-level refiner. At least it was better than using the spirit-enhancing pill or mountain gaze pill to trade. Master Lin, although I don't have the ghost cicada wings, I do have other materials. Spiritual jade would do too. I wonder if you can help me with the pill refinement. The first person who bought the herb couldn't help but ask. It wasn't easy to see a mystic first-level alchemist, and although there were 2 on the ship, they wouldn't sell it easily. For example, Li Zhaoyi's chance to make a move was to be auctioned at the northernmost island, so she definitely wouldn't be making pills for others now. Lin Yi's alchemy skills had been proven, and if Li Zhaoyi couldn't make the yin and yang pill alone, then Lin Yi could. Who was better? Lin Yi blinked, not expecting something like this to happen. Thinking about it, this was a pretty good business. Helping people make elixirs not only gave him the recipe, but also extra elixirs. It was a business with no capital but 10,000 profits, even more profitable than the Central Chamber of Commerce's trash. when an alchemist was asked to help, they would usually have to prepare their own pill formula. Furthermore, the ingredients for alchemy would normally be double. Of course, it was impossible to only prepare one set of the ingredients that were too precious. However, the remuneration would be items of similar value. Lin Yi was very interested in the recipe and the elixir, so he couldn't really say no. Yes, we can talk about this in private later. Although I can help people refine pills, it depends on the situation. When things here are done, you can come to my room to talk. Lin Yi thought about it and decided not to reject the benefits that came right to his doorstep. However, the most important thing right now was to get the ghost cicada wings. If he could make the ghost speed wings, his strength would increase to another level. Thank you, Master Lin. I'll definitely pay you a visit with sincerity. That person was very happy, as if he didn't expect things to go so smoothly. Being able to refine the truth restoration grass into the truth restoration pill could be considered as completing the most important step. Some of the people in the audience had their eyes lit up as well. They'd already started planning on going to Lin Yi as soon as possible to ask him for help after they were done here. High-level refiners like him had a limit on how many times they could help, and they'd lose the chance if they were late. On the other side, Li Zhao frowned slightly. She didn't think that Lin Yi would use the refining opportunity to trade. She knew that she needed a lot of rest every time she refined a pill. How long had it been since Lin Yi refined yin and yang pills? How could he do it again? What would Li Zhao think if she knew that Lin Yi made at least 7 or 8 cauldrons a day, and that each cauldron with multiple sets of ingredients? Lin Yi waited on the stage for a while, but no one came up to trade with him. It was clear that the ghost speed wings had to be pushed back. The ghost cicada wings were extremely rare, perhaps comparable to the rarity of the yang extreme grass. Lin Yi had no choice but to get off the stage, but wherever he went, most of the people greeted him with friendly nods, and even a little fawning. The status of a mystic first level was much higher than Lin Yi had imagined. The following items were all different, but Lin Yi didn't really care about them. He wasn't interested in anything that he didn't need. In the end, he only used a thunder elixir to exchange for a few golden class level 7 elixir recipes. It was still a harvest. When the trade fair ended, it was already the afternoon of the second day. He didn't get the ghost cicada wings, but he got a storage bag and a few recipes. Lin Yi was satisfied, and there would be people asking him to refine elixirs later on. Ho Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and the others also had their own gains. Even Wei Xinjin had gotten a prop that he liked. The few of them chatted and laughed as they returned to their rooms to cultivate. They knew that Lin Yi would have guessed, so they didn't want to disturb him. Sure enough, after a few minutes, the person who bought the truth restoration grass hurried over. Master Lin, I hope I didn't disturb your rest by visiting so abruptly. The middle-aged man looked refined, greeting Lin Yi with a fist salute. He was the type of person who would easily get into people's good books. Lin Yi smiled and let him in. You still haven't asked. I was careless and forgot to introduce myself. I'm really sorry. I'm the vice sect leader of the Thousand Blades sect, Ling Wuzong. Greetings, Master Lin. Spirit martial ancestor cupped his fists once more and spoke in a very humble manner. So it's Vice Sect Leader Ling of the Thousand Blades sect. It's an honor to meet you. Lin, he said casually. He really hadn't heard of the spirit martial track before. However, when he heard about the Thousand Blades sect, he thought of the Thousand Blades sect in the ancient martial world. He wondered if Ling Tianyu had any blood relations with this spirit martial ancestor. However, after so many years, even if they were of the same bloodline, it would probably be very thin, and no matter what, this could be Ling Tianyu's relative. And Lin Yi's impression of him improved a little. The spirit martial path and Lin Yi exchanged a few pleasantries before getting to the main topic. I'm sure Master Lin knows that I'm here to ask you to make the truth restoration pill. However, I'm not in a hurry to use it. Master Lin can make it when it's convenient. Lin waved his hand. It doesn't matter when I make it. I don't have the recipe for the recovery pill. If you want me to make it, you have to give me the recipe first. That's not a problem. I have the pill recipe for the truth restoration pill with me. He quickly took out a sheet of sheepskin paper and handed it to Lin with both hands. Master Lin, please take a look. This is the pill formula. I've also prepared all the other ingredients for the truth restoration pill. After Lin took the recipe, Ling Wuzong took out a jade box the size of 2 palms and placed it on the table. There were small boxes inside with herbs, and one of them was the truth restoration grass that cost over 8 million spirit jade. Master Lin, the truth restoration grass is hard to come by, so I can only prepare one. As for the reward, I wonder what you want. Ling Wuzong asked nervously. Even if Lin wanted a herb of the same grade as the truth restoration herb, he didn't have it. It would be best if he had a spiritual jade. 10 million was nothing. Lin didn't reply. He looked at the recipe first, then at the herbs. After some calculations, he realized that there were almost 2 sets of ingredients. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.